Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto trained by dragons for Chunin exams part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. The birth of the twin swords. The greatest weapon a man can wield is his own heart, mind, body and soul. The weapons of today are merely part of the arsenal. In the world of Dajern. In the times of the ancient past, when the world was young, there were dragons, ancient and majestic beasts of power, magic, and will. They soared through the skies and ruled the lands before them and conversed with the mortal beings who inhabit the lands. There were two sects of dragons: the holy dragons who value peace, compassion, wisdom, knowledge, justice, mercy, order, life, creation and freedom, and the chaos dragons who value power, corruption, greed, hatred, malice, anger, death, slavery, and destruction. These dragons were constantly fighting one another, the holy dragons hoping to protect all in their charge, while the chaos dragons wanted to conquer, enslave, and consume those the holy dragons protected. The mortal denizens of the world knew this to be the war of the dragon lords, as many dragons on either side sold their lives dearly. They too joined behind these dragons on either side. Some did it for honor, fame, glory, justice, and duty. Others did it for power, knowledge, destruction, and worse. The realms protected by the holy dragons were under the stewardship of their most powerful lord, a powerful dragon named Faldrin. He taught many ancient powers to mortals, being the oldest and the first of the holy dragons and their unspoken leader. He too saw mortals under his care to be worthy of protection, and he led his kin into countless battles with their dark brethren to prevent the destruction of all life. Under his teachings, the mortal humans, and their fellow neighbors the elves, dwarves, gnomes, and other races of the light made kingdoms of their own lands and considered the holy dragons as their allies and respected the power of the holy dragons in both times of peace and in times of war, though Faldrin and his kin didn't interfere with the affairs of their wards, to allow them to make their own civilizations grow, coming to aid them when the need was great. The realms under the watch of the chaos dragons were under the control of their most powerful leader Chorvax. Like Faldrin, he taught many things to the mortals in his realms, being the oldest and first of the chaos dragons and their unquestioned master. However, this was where things between the two dragon sides changed, for in the realms of the chaos dragons, the beings who live there are forever food, slaves, and worshippers of the chaos dragons. Chorvax saw mortals as nothing more than pawns, food, and puppets, and he and his kin fed their power and malice into their subjects without care and twisted the hearts of the beings of their lands, who fear them and worship them. Many battles have been fought between the two dragon races and their mortal followers for generations, and it had been a violent and bloody existence. Faldrin decided to call a ceasefire and spoke to Chorvax, and both leaders met in the borderlands. What was spoken between the great dragon lords was unknown, but what was certain was that there would be no true compromise, as both leaders knew that there would be war even if they would all leave and never interfere with the affairs of the beings under their respective charge. Thus the dragon lords each spoke to their kin and decided to create weapons that could be used to determine the outcome of each battle. Faldrin gathered his kin, and with all of their power, one of his own metallic claws, and one of his metal scales, they created a sword of great power. The sword was unlike anything any mortal smith could forge, and was made by the holy dragons to be unmatched by mortal means, save by their own power, and that of their dark brethren. Into this sword, they poured portions of their mystic powers, their blood, their beliefs, and more. The sword was forged for nearly 3 to 4 years, and with Faldrin's last blessing the weapon was complete. Chorvax gathered his own kin, and with all of their power, one of his own metallic fangs, and one of his scales, they too created a sword of great power, and it too was unlike anything that any mortal smith could forge, and was made by the chaos dragons to be unequaled by mortal means, save by their own power, and that of their holy kin. Into this sword, they poured portions of their own mystic powers, their blood, their beliefs, and more. It took 4 years for the weapon to be completed, and it was so with Chorvax's blessing. Once the weapons were finished, the dragons left the weapons in their most sacred place, and thus they moved aside and allowed their respective mortal followers to seek the weapons out of their own free will. The two swords were wondrous to behold by anyone, and they were soon sought after by many who sought the power of the dragons. But the swords were no mere weapons, they were great reservoirs of magic and power, and were alive. These two swords chose their wielders, and to prove it, those deemed worthy by the swords each bore a mark of the holy and chaos dragons, and the sword would obey only its chosen wielder and master. Those who were able to find the swords, but were not chosen, were unable to wield it in many ways. Those who attempted to wield the holy dragon sword found it to be nearly impossible to lift, as if they were trying to lift a mountain. And those of dark natures and hearts who attempted to wield or touch the holy dragon sword were burned by the mystical wards and enchantments that both chose the wielder and protected the sword from harm. The same could be said for the chaos dragon sword, as it too prevented those who it did not chose to wield it to even lift it off the ground. Those who were of good natures and hearts suffered paralyzing pain and fear once they were hit by the wards and enchantments that guarded the sword. After their forging, the swords saw battle in the hands of various warriors from the two realms, and these battles were climactic in scale to the eyes of mortals, and these were known as the Dragon Champion Wars, and each wielder of either sword was graced with the title of Dragon Champion. In time the swords themselves gained their own names, and while the draconian names for the swords were only spoken by the dragons who made them, the mortals of each realm made names that would long be remembered. The Holy Dragon Sword was known as Holy Talon, and the Chaos Dragon Sword was known as Death Fang. The swords also took in the essences of those who wielded them, learning from their previous wielders and bestowing the same abilities to those who they chose to wield them later on in life. And it was said that those dragon champions were granted immortality by the swords in a way, for they were able to live for many years after the forging of both blades. In one final battle, both Holy Talon and Death Fang were wielded by two powerful mages who fought in the land known as the Dragon's Basin. In the final moments of the 5 days' battle of swords and magic, the mages slew one another in a maelstrom of mystical energy that would have been immense, and all magic would have been disrupted. However, in a blinding flash of light the battle ended, and both mages were seen dead on the ground and the swords gone. There was panic in both realms, and many petitioned the dragons to locate the wondrous weapons, but the dragons refused and stated that the time of the Holy Talon and the Death Fang in this world had passed. The maelstrom had somehow sent the swords far beyond even their reach, and as such, only a great feat of power could bring the living swords back. The dragon lords knew this, and they decided to watch and wait to see through their magic where the swords had indeed landed. It was in a realm too far away for them to open a gateway for the swords' return, but the higher gods deemed that while the swords were no longer there, they would have roles to play in wherever they landed. And soon, new dragon champions will arise, and the battle will once more be fought between the Holy Talon and the Death Fang, and soon the swords and their wielders would decide the fate of their world in ways that none, not even them, can predict. In Wave Country, Naruto rushed as fast as he could manage in order to reach Inari and Tsunami before the bandits got hired to kidnap a hostage. And he knew just who they had in mind. The blonde moved as fast as he could manage as he closed the distance between him and Inari's home. He knew that his team were currently at the bridge that Tazuna was building, and he knew that the ninja known as Zabuza was in the area. He had to finish this quickly before things got even more hectic. Darn it! I hope I make it in time. As he cleared the forest, he then spotted 2 samurai holding Tsunami hostage, and Inari was shouting at them to release his mother. Naruto was surprised by this. He had fought with Inari before when the topic of heroes came up a long time ago while they're in the village. Inari thought heroes were fools, and that really pissed him off that the kid was looking at his adopted father that way. But it seemed that the young boy had gathered the courage to stand and fight as he was doing his level best to tell the 2 samurai to release his mother, and he was charging right for them. Naruto knew that he only had one chance to get this right as the 2 men began to attack as he rushed in. Inari! Tsunami screamed out as she tried to stop the 2 rogue samurai from killing her son, but she was stopped with a blow from doing anything, and she was now unconscious. Inari was feeling great fear and sorrow, but held on as he charged at the men. The brothers were eager to end the brat's life, but to their shock, they found that they only succeeded in cutting a log into 3 pieces. What the heck? A replacement jutsu? The 2 then turned as they spotted Naruto, who had been able to rescue Tsunami, and Inari in them as the blonde ninja spoke in his usual tone. I made it, sorry about the delay, but heroes always seem to show up late. Inari looked up and saw to his surprise Naruto, who had been able to use a replacement jutsu to take Inari's place, while he and 3 other clones that he had made were able to sneak into the area and free Tsunami and Inari at the last minute. Who the heck are you? The name's Naruto Uzumaki of Konoha to you, One Eye. And I'm going to deal with you right now for trying to kidnap a kind lady like Tsunami and trying to kill her son. Naruto! It's you! Naruto spared a glance at Inari and smiled as the kid stood in awe at what he had been able to do at the last minute. You did great, Inari. When you charged those 2, they forgot about your mother, and that allowed me to get out of the way and use a replacement jutsu to save both her and you. I owe you big for that. Inari looked at his mother and found her to be alive and safe, and he felt like crying, but then realized that since Naruto was not with the others, he must have known about the samurai who were coming to kidnap his mother. But how did he know that and make it here? But how did you know these 2 were coming to kidnap my mother? Naruto recalled what he had seen while in the forest a while back, and which told him that danger was heading Inari's way. I found a really badly wounded boar in the forest a while back, and the area around it was really cut up, and those cuts could only be done with a sword, and the path where all the cutting was done was heading straight for your house. That was really smart of you, Naruto. Blah blah. Inari turned, and both he and Naruto then faced the 2 mercenary samurai, who were getting even more annoyed as they reached for their swords once more. It's one of those ninja brats Tazuna hired. Let's deal with him. Inari gasped as the two charged at them as they were still looking. They're coming. Naruto calmly focused and took out a pair of shuriken from his pouch and fired them at the two samurai. Both men then took out their swords and blocked the attacks, and one of them merely taunted Naruto. You'll have to do something else than that, brat. Naruto merely grinned, making them more angry as he replied. I already have. Before the samurai could do anything, the two other clones that Naruto had made before had been able to get the drop on the two samurai, and with powerful kicks to the back of their heads, the two samurai were knocked out like lights. The clones faded and Inari was stunned at the whole thing and looked at Naruto with wide eyes filled with admiration. That was so cool. Just like a real ninja. You twerp. I keep telling you all the time. I am a real ninja, you know. The two shared a great deal of laughs, and afterwards, the two tied up the still unconscious samurai brothers with several coils of rope, and as they took the time to calm down after the battle, Naruto had this weird feeling that someone was calling him. Naruto then spoke to Inari. I guess I should apologize about what I said yesterday. Huh. Calling you a coward was pretty low and mean, but now I can say this with pride and honesty, Inari. He placed his hand on Inari's head and replied with his usual smile. You were really brave today. I have no doubt your stepfather and your mother would be really proud of you. Inari felt overwhelmed and once more began to cry, and he was not happy with that as he thought Naruto was going to make fun of him and call him a baby, like those bullies had done in the past. But Naruto was not that kind of person and assured him that it was all right. Naruto then left him in charge as he ran back to help his fellow team members in their battle at the bridge. On the bridge, things were not looking good as Sasuke found himself under heavy attack by Haku, who had somehow conjured up another jutsu that involved ice and water. The fake Hunter Nin created mirrors of ice that covered Sasuke, and when he tried to break one they didn't break in the least, and before he knew what was happening, Haku unleashed a massive barrage of Saban that cut into him and wounded him severely. He had the upper hand at first until Haku pulled out this new jutsu, and he had no way to escape and was wounded considerably. Kakashi tried to step in but found himself blocked by Zabuza, and Sakura tried to get involved by firing a kunai at Haku, but the apparently skilled ninja caught the weapon and was about ready to attack, but he was suddenly attacked by a shuriken and was knocked out of the mirror he was using. The others looked as a large pillar of smoke appeared and only two people knew who that was. Sasuke groaned as he knew of only one guy who did such stunts. Darn it, quit showing off. Haku spoke once more as he now had a gash on his mask due to the shuriken hitting his face. The number one hyperactive, knucklehead ninja is here, I see. And sure enough, Naruto appeared and was ready for a fight as the smoke cleared. He spoke proudly and got ready with his usual grin. Naruto Uzumaki is here. Believe it! As he got ready to jump into the fray, he took out a kunai and made a direct strike to Haku. He realized that since this guy was the one who controlled the mirror jutsu, he was then one that had to be taken out, that much he knew, but as Naruto closed in, Haku quickly fired several Saban at him. He was able to evade some of them, but got hit hard on the leg. And Zabuza took advantage of that, and Kakashi was stunned as Naruto was injured. The blonde ninja recovered but quickly gulped once more as Zabuza came at him with his head-cleaving sword at the ready. Naruto! Look out! Now you die, brat! Naruto blocked with his kunai, but the weapon was not enough as the head-cleaving sword had been well made, and weapons such as the kunai were not the best choices to block a weapon of its power and size, as the kunai held on for a moment before being cut, and the weapon wounded Naruto right on the chest, cutting him deeply. Naruto staggered back as the blood flowed from his wounds. Haku hesitated and was not happy. He wanted to fight Naruto head-on, but Zabuza was in a hurry, and he couldn't go against the only man to give him purpose. Zabuza smirked a bit and replied, You've run out of road in life, brat, see you at the end. With that, Zabuza kicked Naruto in the stomach and sent him into the waters below with a splash, and he turned and faced Kakashi, who gave out a very icy glare. How dare you! You want to avenge that brat, Kakashi? Then come and get me and watch as Haku takes out the other one. Sakura gasped at the sight of Naruto falling into the water with the wound. She might not like him, but he was her team after all, and now he must be dead. She forced herself to calm down and focus on defending Tazuna, though she swore that she would pray for her teammate once she had a chance. Unknown to them all, as Naruto fell deeper into the water, knocked back into the ocean from Zabuza's strike, he felt the cold waters and he felt his life beginning to weaken, and he continued to fall into the water. Am I dying? Naruto opened his eyes and found himself in deep water, and there were fishes swimming, and for a moment a vision hit his mind, the image of a strange sword that seemed to be of pure evil, as if it was purely made from evil. He then saw himself, but different. The whisker marks were there, but he seemed older, more seasoned, and holding a sword, wearing strange clothes with the symbol of some beast with wings on the clothes and a strange white tattoo on his arm. He looked about as much as he could manage, and then he saw something. As his wounds were still beating from the strike, he managed to barely deflect. He wasn't sure, but it appeared to some sort of weapon in a sheath like a sword, and it was buried in a large boulder underneath the waters. But it was different, though he couldn't see it for real. His vision began to fade, but the number one hyperactive knuckled-headed ninja of Konoha was not about to die here and now. No! I've made it this far. I will become Hokage. I refuse to die. Naruto tried to move as the sword was now within reach, and for a second, he touched it. I won't give up my dream. I want to live. Naruto suddenly felt a sensation flooding his body, but it was not a deadly sensation, but warm, calming, soothing, and empowering, unlike anything he had ever felt before in his entire life. It didn't even compare to the chakra that he summoned on a few occasions, but something older, more unique. It was then that he heard a voice in the darkness. What do you live for? Naruto was unsure of what the voice wanted for him to say. But no matter what, he was not going to back down, and he replied, I live to accomplish my dream. Dream? What is it you dream to be, boy? I dream to be Hokage, so someday I will be recognized by the people in my village. And my name is Naruto Uzumaki, not boy. Why do you wish to be Hokage, Naruto Uzumaki? So I can finally prove to the villagers that I'm not a demon. That I can be the greatest ninja the village ever had. Is that all you want? Do you not have others to care for and protect? Naruto then recalled Iruka, the only man who treated him with kindness in the academy, the third Hokage, who despite him butting heads with was the closest thing to a grandfather he had, his friend Konohamaru. He recalled Tsuchi and Ayam, the two who worked in the ramen stand that he frequented. He thought of his teammates, Sakura, his sensei Kakashi, and even if he wouldn't want to admit it, Sasuke. He would not give up on Sakura despite her actions towards him. He wanted to prove to Kakashi that he could be as good, or even better than Sasuke. And he wanted to prove to Sasuke that he could be stronger than him. The voice was silent, and Naruto wondered if it decided to leave him alone, but it came back in the same tone as before. But he spotted a deep blue glint before him. You do have those you wish to protect. Will you defend them with all that you are? Of course I will. I am a ninja of Konoha, and they are important to me. Important enough for you to risk your very life? Will you fight with every fiber of your being to defend them, even if you must face death itself? They are worth everything to me, and they are important enough for me to fight no matter what. I will fight with every bit of my skill and soul to defend them. And I will not die until I do that and become Hokage. The blonde ninja then saw the glow become larger and brighter than any light he had seen, and as soon as the light faded, he gasped as he saw a sword, unlike any sword he had ever seen before in his days in the academy. It had 2 edges, and the blade was at 3 feet in length, and it had strange markings on the middle, and there were small gems on the middle as well in regular intervals, and the base was surrounded by 2 strange serpent-like beasts that then covered the flat of the blade on either side. The handguard was made in a way that the handguard resembled bat-like wings, with 2 sharp prongs moving upward. There appeared to some sort of gem under a metal sheath on the middle of the guard, and the handle was covered in a scale-like pattern, like that of a snake or any reptile, and the handle was good for either a single or double-handed grip. The end of the handle had another one of the serpent heads with its jaws open and a beautiful gem that seemed to shimmer in different colors of the rainbow. The blade itself was made of a metal that seemed to glow with a silvery white light, mixed with gold tint. The hand grip was also made from pure gold or something that resembled gold. And the handle itself seemed to be made out of another silvery metal inlaid with gold leaf. The weapon was beautiful, and it seemed to call to him as he reached out, and when his hands gripped the sword handle, the voice once more spoke as the covered jewel on the middle of the hand grip opened like an eye and a glowing white stone appeared. You have been deemed worthy, Naruto Uzumaki. I shall be your ally, brother in arms, and protector to the very end of your days. I am the Holy Dragon Sword, known to your race as the Holy Talon, and you are now more than a ninja of Konoha. What do you mean by that? What am I now? A dragon champion. Back on the bridge, Kakashi, Sasuke, and Sakura tensed as they got ready to face Sabuza and Haku. The missing Nin from the water country got his head cutter sword ready, and Hawk, who had revealed his secret bloodline, got ready to finish Sasuke off with a barrage of Saban. Kakashi kept himself ready to fight, though his Sharingan was still being disabled by the mist. Sakura stayed close to help Kakashi and protect Tazuna, while Sasuke bit back the pain and got to his feet. They were so focused on each other that it was not surprising that all of them were suddenly stunned to feel a massive explosion of chakra and a type of energy that none of them had ever felt before. It was like an explosion of energy that blinded and overwhelmed their senses in a heartbeat. Haku halted his attack, and so did Sasuke as they tried to look for the source of such immense chakra. Sakura tried her best to find out where the chakra was coming from. Even Zabuza and Kakashi tore their attention from one another and searched for the chakra source. What is that chakra? It's massive! Sasuke thought as he looked as best he could despite the mirrors surrounding him. Such power, pure unadulterated power, it's like an unending wave of energy. Where could that be coming from? I've never felt anything like it before. Haku thought as he tried to search for the source. It's certainly not the Kyuubi's chakra, it's different, very different, and more powerful. Kakashi thought as he searched for its possible location. That power, it's unlike anything I have felt in my travels since my failed attempt to kill the Mizukage. It even surpasses Haku's chakra. Zabuza said as he had this very uneasy feeling ever since the chakra explosion. That level of chakra is impossible. What or who could possibly make that much power? Sakura thought as she too felt the chakra. She was unsure if it was a threat or an ally. They all got their answer as a massive geyser of water exploded from the very same side of the bridge where Naruto had fallen after Zabuza had attacked him. The water seemed to tingle, as if it too was alive, and as the water fell back, they were all stunned to see a massive beast made out of pure light appear before them. It defied anything that they all had heard of, and it seemed to look down, and then it spread what appeared to be wings, and as it began to fade, someone leaped out from the light and landed on the bridge. The new figure stood up, and the orange and blue jumpsuit gave it away. Naruto! The blonde ninja looked back and he smiled at his team. Sorry I'm late. I had to take a detour. Before Naruto could speak further, Zabuza charged at him with his head-cleaving sword, and from the position of the weapon, the missing Miss Swordsman planned to end the blonde ninja's life with one blow right for the neck. I don't know how you survived, brat, but I'm going to cleave you and take your head. Naruto looked at Zabuza and then reached behind him and replied in a cool and more confident voice. I hardly think so, Zabuza of the Mist. As Zabuza attacked, there was a loud metallic clang, and the others watched as Naruto produced a sword that, while smaller and less massive than Zabuza's head cutter sword, had blocked the weapon effortlessly, and Naruto was holding it in a two-handed grip. The two tried to push each other back, and Naruto managed to push Zabuza away. The missing Nin growled at being stopped and got his sword ready, but when he looked at his sword he was stunned to find that a portion of the edge was destroyed and cracks had formed on the blade. Impossible! My sword was forged using the strongest metals that could be found, and it has been tempered well sharpened, and reinforced, becoming the deadly weapon it is today. How can it suffer that much damage from that brat's sword? Kakashi himself was stunned at the sight. He naturally knew about some of the weapon forging techniques employed by the Mist Swordsman, and to see that strange sword had not only withstood the cutting power of Zabuza's head-cleaving sword, but caused that much damage to it, was a sight he was certainly not planning to forget anytime soon. It's unlike any sword I've seen before, and there seems to be a field of chakra almost hard to see around it. Where on earth did Naruto find that thing? The others had no time to waste as Naruto moved in, and the swords clashed once more. However, Zabuza knew that this fight was lost, as there was no way his sword could continue to remain intact if even a glancing blow with that sword that brat wielded could result in this much damage to it. The next blow further tore off an edge from the sword, and more cracks were on the sword. As Naruto was able to force Zabuza back, he turned his attention to Sasuke and saw the extent of his teammates' injuries. He then turned to Zabuza and replied, I guess I can't keep fighting with you right now then. I'll let you and Kakashi-sensei sort this mess out between you two. With that, Naruto rushed into the mirrors and was now beside Sasuke, wielding his new sword in the face of Haku and the ice mirrors that he had summoned. Sasuke, however, was happy with Naruto in the area despite his wounds. He was already able to use the Sharingan, and was able to even up the odds at least. He didn't need the Dobe's help, though. He wondered just when did he suddenly get this burst of chakra, and where did the sword come from? What are you doing here, you idiot? Naruto turned and gave Sasuke a glare of disbelief. I came here to help you get out of this mess, and this is the thanks I get? Now we're both trapped in here, Naruto. I noticed. Then let's not waste time arguing, and find a way out of here then. Let me help with those blasted saban. You look like a pincushion. Naruto felt an energy surge flow from the sword known as the Holy Talon, and it glowed with a silvery green light, and he then felt an urge to touch the blade, and when he did so, the silvery green flame covered his left hand with no harmful effect, and he then placed his free left hand on Sasuke, and the Uchiha survivor watched as the green flame surrounded him, but instead of hurting him the flames were harmless, and to his astonishment, the senbon that had hit him were forced out, and his body was healed where there were cuts and piercings before. There was only whole flesh now as the flame faded. That was impossible. That was like a medical jutsu, but unlike anything I've seen before. He healed all my wounds with sword's green and silver flame. What kind of power was that? Naruto was also astonished at that power, but put that aside as he faced the mirrors that were before them, not wanting to get distracted and getting hit from behind by the ninja before him and Sasuke. He took a defensive posture and got ready to fight, while Sasuke managed to fight back his shock and got into defensive position. Zabuza, however, knew that after all that he has seen, there was no way either he or Haku could beat this ninja team. The Sharingan user was a bit of a problem, but Haku could even that up, but that brat that he thought he had killed now was a big factor that he was not in the mood to face at this point in time. As much as he wanted to settle accounts with Kakashi and his team, he would have no chance to win this fight, and while it galled him, the demon Zabuza, he had no choice but to retreat. Haku, we're breaking off from this battle. Haku was surprised but understood his master's words, as he too had doubts that he could win this fight easily after sensing the immeasurable chakra that Naruto was giving out when he reappeared, his attacks that nearly destroyed Zabuza's own sword, and his new ability to heal wounds with that flame from the sword he carried. He felt that fighting the blonde was not the best of plans. He turned and moved away from the mirrors and faced the two ninja. It seems you both have won this round, but I have a feeling that we shall face one another again someday. Until then you both had better be ready. I will not forget either of you, especially you, Naruto-kun. Zabuza then placed back his head-cleaving sword and the two vanished, and with that, the mist jutsu that Zabuza used faded as well, along with Haku's ice mirrors. The Mission Mist Swordsman then spoke to the others. I guess this is one fight I will not forget. Make no mistake, Kakashi. I will come back and settle accounts with you. As for you with the sword, I don't know where you got that weapon, or what it is, but don't make the mistake of thinking that just because I am leaving doesn't mean I've forgotten my promise to take your head. And when I do, that sword of yours will be destroyed. With that, both Zabuza and Haku left the scene, and this allowed Team 7 to relax a bit, and so did Naruto, as he relaxed his grip on the sword and placed it on his back where the sheath quickly covered the weapon. This was not unnoticed by the others as Kakashi, Sakura, and Sasuke approached their fellow team member. Hey Dobe, where did you get that sword? Naruto reached out and took the sword from his back and with it in its sheath. I don't really know, I found it in the water when I fell, and when I touched it it's kind of hard to describe. Sasuke glared a bit more and wondered just what was going on here, and he wanted to know just where did Naruto suddenly get all that power. If he could find it, it might help him in his plans to avenge his family. He was going to have to keep an eye on his teammate from here on out. Well, Naruto, you've really lived up to your reputation as the most surprising ninja candidate to leave the academy, but that still doesn't explain all that chirka that we felt when you came back and what that strange glowing creature was before you came out. What exactly happened down there? Kakashi asked as he examined the young blonde. He was thankful that the boy was not killed, and thankfully the Kyuubi's chakra didn't come out or the seal didn't break, that the events that just happened before him begged for answers. And what kind of sword is that, Naruto? I've never seen anything like it before, and it doesn't match any type of sword I know of in the history books back at the academy. Sakura asked as she too looked at the sword that Naruto had. Naruto shook his head and also answered her question. I wish I knew what kind of sword it was myself, Sakura-chan. I found it buried in the side of a boulder when I fell down into the deeper waters. The really cool thing is, it's almost weightless. What? I'm serious. It's almost like it's totally made of paper or a pen. There's nearly no weight in the whole weapon. Can I try holding it? Sure. Sakura reached out for the sword's handle as Naruto gave it to her, but to her shock and everyone else, the pink-haired Kunoichi yelped out loud as the sword hit the ground with a clang and she released it. The pink-haired Kunoichi reached for the sword and tried once more to lift the weapon, but she couldn't even begin to lift it as it didn't even move an inch or a millimeter off the ground. After several more attempts, Sakura gave up and glared at Naruto with her hands on her hips. Naruto, you liar! You said this sword had no weight. This thing feels like it weighs almost like a whole building. Kakashi raised an eyebrow at that statement by Sakura, and he too tried to lift the sword once he had a good grip, and when he tried to lift it he too felt like he was trying to lift an entire mountainside with his hands, and after several attempts he himself couldn't lift the weapon. The silver-haired shinobi tried again and afterwards gave up as he released the weapon. It weighs a lot, that's for sure, but that doesn't explain how come you could carry it, and we can't. Can you try lifting it? Naruto nodded and reached out for the sword, and to the amazement of the rest of Team 7, the sword was effortlessly lifted by the blonde ninja, who showed none of the struggle that either Sakura or Kakashi had when they too tried to lift the sword. It was there that Kakashi noted something else, and reached out to Naruto's right arm and rolled up the sleeve, and to his shock he found a tattoo of some great beast with wings that seemed to breathe fire. Where did you get this, Naruto? Naruto looked, and he too was surprised to see the tattoo as well and couldn't help but stare at it. However, the team had no time to waste as they turned and spotted an armed wave of men, and before them appeared to the leader of the whole bunch, a man in a business suit and had a cane, and no doubt was the one responsible for Wave Country's troubles, as Tazuna identified him very quickly. Gato. The man sneered and spoke to them all. I see that Zabuza and his follower didn't do as I asked of them. A pity, since I wasted so much money on him. But then again, I can always make more money to reimburse myself for the losses. But until I get rid of you, Tazuna, I can't do that, so I'm going to make one last offer for you two. No deal. You've had your way over my home long enough, and I won't stand for it anymore. And what are you going to do, old man? Attack me like your foolish son-in-law did? Do you remember what I did to him after that little incident? I can do the same thing to you and then the rest of your family as well. You are nothing but threats to me, and threats to my business are the ones I despise the most. Kakashi, however, spoke to Gato with a firm tone. You'll have to get past us first. Ha! You may be a jonin, but you are alone and I am not. I hired all these mercenaries to deal with you and your little team of kids on the off chance that Zabuza failed to keep his part of the bargain, and now that he did, I will be able to finally end this whole mess. Men, if you want to earn your pay, then wipe them out, all of them. Naruto glared at. He then took out the sword from the sheath and faced Gato and his men along with the rest of his team. The mercenaries were all eager for a fight and got all of their weapons ready, but then a loud number of footsteps were heard and it seemed like an army was heading this way, making Gato confused, and the confusion faded and turned into shock and rage as he spotted Inari and all the villagers. And they were armed with whatever tools and makeshift weapons they could find. The evil tycoon growled and snorted as he spotted the leader of the villagers, as Inari was wearing a helmet and was armed with a crossbow. So you're Tazuna's grandson? And what is this rabble you have with your army? You're pathetic. You're nothing but poor folks with tools, while my men can beat the tar out of all of you in a heartbeat. I'd like to see them try that. You may have killed my father, but we're no longer your pawns, Gato. We want you out of our village and out of Wave Country now. I've had enough of this. Kill them all. Right. The mercenaries charged forward and Naruto got ready to fight, along with Sakura and Sasuke, and Kakashi as well. However, Naruto decided to finally throw his ace in the hole as he made the hand signs and used his trademark jutsu. Kage Bushin Jutsu. And like before, there were large numbers of clones that appeared ready to fight, and they too were armed with the same sword as the original Naruto was. This made the mercenaries pause as they saw this, and Kakashi decided to get into the act as well, making his own Kage Bushin to even up the odds a bit more. Even Sasuke got into the act as well. Gato was livid and told the mercenaries to attack, and with the incentive that not only will they be paid by him to do this, but they were free to plunder the village for all the items of worth in it. This was enough to make the mercenaries overcome their fears as they continued to charge. However, unknown to them all, the sword Naruto wielded began to glow faintly as if it sensed the danger its master was in, and the shielded stone in the hand guard opened as the metal covering it opened, and the glowing stone once more appeared like an eye, and Naruto suddenly felt this urge, and he felt something enter his mind like a gentle suggestion. He then decided to follow through and then placed the sword in front of his face with the flat ends of the sword facing him and the target, and instead of making hand signs as per requested by Jutsus, he began to speak in an alien tongue that got the attention of his team, as they had no idea the language that Naruto was uttering. What is Naruto talking about? What kind of language is that Dobe speaking in? This language certainly doesn't sound familiar, but it seems to be familiar to Naruto. What is it? They got their answer as Naruto raised the sword high and spoke in their tongue and uttered a phrase that seemed to resonate with power and authority, and it was there that they saw the glowing stone that appeared in the hand guard of the sword Naruto had. I command you who serve the cause of justice. Arise and fight for me. Bolts of pure golden light shot out of the sword, and to the astonishment of everyone the bolts of light took human forms, and when the lights faded, there were many warriors before the mercenaries. They were all dressed in armor, some wearing plates of overlapping armor. Others wore coats of mental rings and armor plate, and the only feature that showed that they were united was the symbol of the same silver beast that was on Naruto's right arm. The warriors wielded a mixture of weapons, like the mercenaries did, such as swords, spears, maces, hammers, polearms, bows, and crossbows. The beings turned to face Naruto, revealing glowing eyes and hidden faces in their helms, and they bowed before him like loyal servants to their master. We are the Knights of Faldron. We obey the wielder of the Holy Talon, and we will fight for you. The warriors then faced Gato and his mercenaries and brandished their weapons and were moving in strict military formation, and the sight of these warriors appearing stunned everyone on either side. Especially the rest of Team 7, as they each tried to figure out just how did Naruto summon these men. Seeing Naruto use his Kage Bushin Jutsu was normal for them, but for someone like Naruto to suddenly summon a small but well-armed army of warriors out of the light that came from the sword he was Wielding was something else. When did Naruto learn how to do that? I don't want to admit it, but that was cool. I've never seen Sasuke-kun do that before. Does it have something to do with that sword Naruto found? How could he have found that kind of power? There's no way someone like him, who's a goofball, an idiot, could suddenly have that kind of power. No way. Why does he have that sword? Interesting, that sword is more than it seems. It somehow allowed Naruto the ability to summon a familiar in the same way a summoning jutsu is done, like the way I would have summoned my nin dogs, though those guys are unlike anything I've ever seen before, and Naruto has no blood contract to speak of, let alone made any hand signs to summon them. Only that strange language. The Hokage should be told of this once we get back to Konoha. Gato looked on with wide eyes, and so did the mercenaries. The sight of the newly summoned warriors, who were very well armed and armored, stopped them all cold, seeing that there was no way they could handle fighting not just the ninjas and the villagers, but this new force that came out from the very light made them know of only one option. Mercenaries were the most practical persons in the art of war, and despite being greedy for money and riches, they knew that sometimes you had to retreat in order to find a new source of money and be alive long enough to spend it, and now was one of those times. They all dropped their weapons and ran back into the ship that had brought them here, leaving behind their former boss to face the army that appeared before him all alone, and Gato was angry as hell as he turned and called them nothing but cowards. But the moment he realized that he was all alone, and when he faced the army before him, he found himself being faced by Naruto, who had a grin on his face. Looks like your boys have changed their minds. I guess that leaves you alone and no one to help you. You brat. Die. Gato took out his cane and revealed a hidden sword, and when he stabbed for Naruto's midsection, the blonde ninja moved with amazing speed and avoided the strike, and with one powerful slash, he brought the holy talon on Gato's cane sword. The weapon was cut cleanly in half by Naruto's own blade like it was nothing but a piece of soft clay, and Gato gulped as he stumbled and fell flat on his face. He turned and looked to see the holy talon's tip on his neck, and Naruto looking at him with contempt. Your schemes over Gato Wave Country is no longer yours to control. It belongs to the people who truly deserve it, Inari and his fellow villagers. If you ever try to raise another scheme here, I'll take you out personally. That is the only warning you'll get from me. Naruto took away the holy talon and turned to move back with the others. But Gato was not going to give up, as he was not going to lose his only source of income to some brat. He grabbed a fallen spear and charged at Naruto. Look out, Naruto! The members of Team 7 shouted, along with Inari and the villagers. Naruto, however, had sensed Gato's incoming attack, and with amazing skill and precision for someone who never studied the art of Kenjutsu, he slashed the spear at the rear of the blade head and rendered the weapon useless, and before Gato realized that he was going to die, Naruto was already moving, and only a brief flash of light and sound of steel cutting something was heard as Naruto held the sword to his side with one hand, showing that he had struck out with a slash. Gato groaned and blood flowed out of his mouth and nose as his shades fell off, and he fell to the ground dead. Inari and the villagers cheered as they saw that Gato was no longer a threat to them all, and Tazuna smiled and looked into the sky and spoke to someone that he knew. It's over, Kaiser. Gato's gone, and he won't be coming back anytime soon. Your death has been avenged. Tsunami and Inari are safe, and so is the village. Your son's become a man, and he will be a fine man someday, and now our village can finally prosper and grow. And it's all thanks to those ninja there. Naruto looked at Gato's body and sighed and looked away. As much as he knew he had defended himself from the treacherous businessman, it still shocked him that he had just killed a man in combat, but he knew that Gato brought in on himself, and he walked back to the others. He recalled the summoned fighters that he had called forth with the aid of the holy talon, and with his pointing the sword to them, the men returned to their light forms and were absorbed back into the sword, and the glowing eye in the hand guard was once more closed in its metal sheath as he walked back to the others as his clones dispersed. A few days later. You promise you'll come around here someday? Inari asked Naruto as he and his mom Tsunami and Tazuna, along with several other members of the village, were seeing Naruto, Sakura, Sasuke, and Kakashi off as they were heading back to Konoha to give their report on the completion of the mission. Of course I will, Inari, and when I get back, I hope you've become stronger. Who knows, you might even become a ninja like me. Sasuke and Sakura looked on with sweat drops on their heads, while Kakashi gave a sigh and smiled a bit at the idea of two Narutos running about in the village, while Tsunami and Tazuna smiled at the scene. The villagers were also busy recovering from the rule of Gato, who had been buried far away from here. Tazuna was able to finish the bridge, and as they bid farewell to the people of Wave Country, one of the villagers turned to Tazuna. So what name are you going to give this bridge now that it's already finished? Tazuna smiled and replied, I'm going to name it the Great Naruto Bridge. Tsunami couldn't help but laugh lightly at that idea and replied, That's a very good name. It is our wager that it will be very famous like Naruto himself. That name gave us good luck here, and I have no doubts that he's going to be famous someday. As Naruto and the others were moving along the bridge, he was really in a good mood as he knew this was his first success as a ninja in a very long time. When I get back to Konoha, I'm going to get Iruka-sensei to buy me the largest amounts of ramen he can manage, and I can't wait to tell Konohamaru all of my adventures. He's going to love it. He then turned his attention to the sword and took it out of the sheath that was on his back. It still amazed him on how elegant the weapon was. Sasuke kept his stare elsewhere, but he still wanted to know more about that sword and where others like it could be found. He was deep in thought, so he wasn't able to speak to Sakura. Huh? What is it? You want to do something with me once we get back to Konoha? Sorry, but I've got some matters to tend to once I get back. Oh, alright. Hey Sakura-chan, if you want, I could go with you. Naruto added with his usual grin as he had the sword back on its sheath. Sakura naturally responded in her usual fashion when it involved Naruto. You idiot! That was a private conversation between me and Sasuke, so butt out. As the team of Konoha ninja moved on, they passed the forest, and Naruto recalled something and took off. Kakashi and the others looked at Naruto and decided to follow him, as they found him in the very same clearing that he found the wounded boar and the ruined area. He reached for the creature that he managed to tend without being gored. Kakashi was about to warn him, but they witnessed something remarkable. The trees seemed to come to life and grow branches that had been cut as if they were healing. Grass was growing greener and thicker, and Naruto once more used the silver-green flame and placed his sword on the boar's body, and the cuts began to heal, and to the amazement of the others in his team, the boar got up and began to lick Naruto's face like a puppy instead of attacking him. It was as if the very environment came alive when that sword activated. Naruto laughed and replied, Okay, Mr. Boar, you're happy. I did say I was coming back to get you fixed up, remember? Naruto got up and placed the sword back as the boar got turned and ran back into the woods, and as the team headed once more for home, Kakashi knew that things were going to get really interesting once they made it back there. In Naruto's apartment. Naruto was tired as he ate his ramen for dinner. He and the rest of his team had arrived to Konoha after a day or two on the road. And the moment he was there, he made a beeline for Iruka's home and greeted the Chunin with a grin and told his father figure about his adventures. Iruka smiled brightly, but his smile faded a bit when he saw the sword, and was naturally curious as to where Naruto had acquired the weapon, but he had little time to do so as the blonde was already asking for a chance to eat his favorite ramen. He bid Kakashi farewell and left. He recounted everything, including that weird conversation while eating ramen in the stand, and Iruka was amazed that Naruto had actually come close to being killed, but somehow was brought back to life or fully healed. Even more so, he had faced a misswordsman and had been able to damage his sword with that weapon on his back. He had asked to hold the sword, but like Sakura and Kakashi before him, the Chunin yelped as he felt the sword, which appeared to be very light in Naruto's hands, suddenly become as heavy as a mountain in his hands, and when he tried to lift the sword after releasing it, and failed to lift it, even Ayame and Tsuchi tried and they too couldn't lift it, and they were amazed as Naruto effortlessly lifted the sword. Naruto was about to tell them about the strange language he had spoken but had no idea on how he knew how to speak it and the arrival of the strangely armored and well-armed men. But two things happened. He began to get sleepy and Iruka had been called by the Hokage. He bid his teacher farewell and headed for his apartment, and here he was right now. As he finished his food, he laid the holy talon on the side of his bed in its sheath and then took on his usual sleeping clothes and went to sleep. The blonde was unaware that the sword seemed to come alive once more as the gem that formed the pommel began to glow in various colors and the covered glowing stone once more appeared, though only half open, as the tattoo glowed on Naruto's arm, and a hazy white light surrounded Naruto as he slept. In the Hokage Tower. Are you saying that Naruto was able to fight the missing Nin Zabuza and cause severe damage to his sword with 2 strikes? The Sandaime asked as he looked at both Kakashi and Iruka. He had been happy that the mission was concluded well, despite the dangers Kakashi's team had landed into. However, the events that surrounded Naruto's sudden acquisition of the unknown sword and the power that it seemingly granted to the blonde child and container of the Kyuubi was certainly something of great interest and concern for the old man, as despite his arguments with the boy, he was like a grandson to the old man, though they were not related by blood like him and Konohamaru. That's correct, sir. I was witness to the whole thing as Naruto damaged Zabuza's sword greatly with only a weak-looking strike, and the sword of the missing Nin was nearly destroyed with a second attack, and considering the way that Gato's sword was cut like it was nothing but cloth, I can bet that sword possesses considerable power and strength to do all that, and there is more. More, you say? Yes, Sakura and I tried to lift the sword ourselves after the battle with Zabuza and his accomplice Haku to find out more about it, and a tattoo of a beast we found on Naruto's right arm. When Naruto handed Sakura the sword, however, something unexpected happened. The moment he released the sword and Sakura took hold of it, The weapon suddenly became heavy and fell to the ground out of Sakura's grip, and it was now heavy enough that Sakura was unable to lift it. No matter how many times she tried, she then said that the sword had suddenly taken the weight of an entire building. And when I tried to lift it as well, it was just as heavy, like I was trying to lift a mountainside. But when Naruto held the sword, it was as light as cloth in his hands. I also noted some sort of tattoo on his right arm. It was then that Gato arrived with his mercenaries, just in case Zabuza and Haku failed. And what happened? We were able to get support from the villagers who were armed, and we called our clones to even up the numbers. But Naruto began chanting in some strange dialect I've never heard of before, and that is saying something in itself since I've traveled for a very long time. And then he summoned beams of light that turned into armed and armored warriors that called themselves the Knights of Faldrin. They were going to fight for Naruto and face Gato's men. The mercenaries left, and Gato tried to fight Naruto himself, but Naruto disarmed him and gave him a warning. Gato didn't heed it, and tried to attack Naruto, forcing Naruto to kill him. Iruka's eyes widened at that statement. Are you saying that Naruto killed someone for real? That certainly does not sound like him. Kakashi nodded at that and spoke. I was surprised myself, but I saw what I saw, and I know that Naruto was certainly not happy with his actions, but it was unavoidable at the time. I take it there's more to this story, Kakashi? The silver-haired ninja and armed with the Sharingan then told them of the little side trip they had taken, and how the sword created a silver-green flame that healed a boar with severe slash wounds, and how the environment seemed alive when the sword was near. Needless to say, both Iruka and Sarutobi were very interested in the sword itself, and what effects it had on Naruto. The Hokage thought clear and hard about this, and Iruka then spoke and told him of the events at the ramen stand that he and Naruto frequented, and even told the others of his own failed attempts to lift the sword. Even Teuchi and Ayam couldn't begin to lift the weapon as well, but just as Kakashi said, the moment Naruto had the sword it was easily lifted. The three men sat down and thought about all these events. The Hokage then spoke and turned to the Chunin and the Jonin. Kakashi, who else knows about Naruto's possession of the sword? Myself, Sakura, and Sasuke, though I have no doubt in my mind Zabuza and Haku are also aware of its existence. Iruka, apart from you, who else in Konoha knows about Naruto's possession of the sword? Teuchi and Ayam know about it as well. And the name of this sword is? Naruto called it the Holy Talon. The Hokage had a lot to think about, but for now, he had orders for both men. Kakashi, I want you to tell Sakura and Sasuke not to tell anyone about the sword's powers and its abilities when Naruto used it in Wave Country. Make sure that until we know more about this weapon, no mention of this sword will come out to the others in the other teams. The weapon no doubt will make its own presence felt. Make sure Naruto does not use it constantly, for despite the benefits it seems to give him, we can't be sure if there might be side effects that could injure or kill him. I understand. Iruka, I want you to go back to Ichiraku and tell both Teuchi and Ayam to not tell anyone else about the sword. We can't afford to have the villagers who hate Naruto to try and attack him when they misunderstand why he has that sword. Yes, Lord Hokage. In the meantime, I will be searching our archives for any mention of what this Holy Talon, who made it, and why. If we can find out where this sword came from and who forged it, we might get a far better understanding of what happened in Wave Country, and why it chose Naruto. In the morning, Kakashi, I want you to tell Naruto to meet me in the practice field where you had the bell test. There we might be able to find out more. Sarutobi then dismissed both men and went to work immediately. He would tell the council in due time, but this was a mystery, and if there was one thing the former shinobi known as the professor liked apart from talking to women, was mysteries. In the Uchiha clan house. The home of the Uchiha clan used to bustle with activity, and even at night there would have been activity of some sort, but not tonight, not after the massacre perpetrated by one of their own. For now only one resident was in the house, one Sasuke Uchiha. The last survivor and heir to the clan searched through his house and gathered all the scrolls that he could find, including the diaries and journals of every ancestor of his clan, in order to find any mention of the Holy Talon. He wanted to know if there were other swords similar to the one his teammate Naruto carried. He had not touched the sword himself and therefore was getting more curious. I need to know what that sword is and who made it. If I am lucky and find a sword with the same powers, like, I could finally accomplish my dream apart from rebuilding the clan, killing him. Sasuke tightened his grip on one of the scrolls in an effort to curb his temper. He couldn't afford to get distracted at this point, as he began to read the first of many scrolls for the night. The next day, Naruto woke up to the sounds of bird chirping and sunlight filling his room, and as he stretched and yawned, he took off his usual sleeping cap and stretched once more, and that was when he noted something. His clothes seemed tighter for some reason. That's kind of weird. My clothes feel a bit tighter than before. Maybe I put too much detergent when I washed them. Naruto then got out of bed and looked to his side of the bed, and smiled to see the holy talon still there in its sheath that appeared to be ebony wood held by silver, gold, and a jade green like metal. He held the sword and took it out, and smiled once more as he looked at the blade, and after a few moments, he slid the sword back into its sheath, and went to the bathroom to brush his teeth and face his face. He felt kind of tired for some reason, like he had been in a marathon or something. As he entered the room, the blonde ninja looked at the mirror to see himself, and he commented to himself, "Man, I really need to sleep more. I look, huh?" Naruto looked closer at the mirror and blinked his eyes a few times and looked a bit closer, and he then looked back, and when he processed what he was seeing, it didn't take very long for the blonde ninja to react. Aha! Everyone in Konoha who were up and early were stunned out of their wits as the scream was heard. Several of them were looking at the direction of the scream, and some of the ninja on duty to quickly draw their weapons. Even the Hokage was caught off guard when he heard the shout, and he too wondered just what or who caused such a commotion. Back in Naruto's bathroom. What the hell happened to me? Naruto was deep in shock as he looked at the mirror, and wide awake as well, and he had very good reason to be shouting as he looked at his face, but wasn't his face at the very same time. What the heck had happened to him? He asked himself that very same question once more as he tried to see if it was indeed his face. He still had the same whisker marks as before, but they seemed more wavy, as if they were more well defined. His face seemed smoother, more angular and more masculine, like all the baby fat that might have been there had been miraculously removed, leaving smooth skin and firm muscle. His face was more well defined, a feature normally found on teen 3 or 4 times his current age, or with men at least the same age as Irika. It was as if he had somehow gained the face of an older man. Though it was far from ugly, it was like that of a handsome full-grown man. He then noted that his hair seemed longer, and not so spiky upwards, and the blonde color seemed more golden, and had slight silver highlights. Not to mention, when he turned his head, his hair on the back was longer now, almost reaching the middle of his shoulder blades. He looked at his eyes, they were the same, but the blue color seemed deeper and stronger, and it had a silver edging around the irises as well, but they seemed slightly reptilian-like. He then noted that he seemed a bit taller than before, a few inches, but taller nevertheless. He took a look with his room's measuring ruler, and found that he was taller than before, nearly the same height as Sasuke. What the hell is going on here? Did I eat something that made me grow overnight? He looked at himself, and noted that his clothes did seem tighter for some reason. He took off the shirt, and was stunned to see himself. Something had certainly happened to him last night, since he didn't recall having this kind of body. His arms looked more muscular, but slim and smooth. He tightened his grip and noted that his grip was a lot stronger than before. He felt his arms and noted that his muscles were hard and tough, almost as if he had spent the sum on 12 years in the gym with weights in one night, and the tattoo of that silver beast was more well-defined and more elegant looking. He looked at his torso and abdomen, and saw that he had well-defined muscles on them too, not too bulky and not too thin, but a well-balanced combination of both. His torso looked smooth, and all the muscles were in the right place and formed for his age, though resembling someone who really worked hard. He looked at his abdomen, and noted the six-pack he had miraculously developed seemingly overnight, and the seal on his stomach was taut in that same area. When he turned around to look at his back, he also noted the well-matched muscle structure as well. He took off his lower pajamas and noted that his legs looked like that of a gymnast and a runner at the same time, well-formed and well-proportioned muscles all over. He even decided to look into his boxers, and he blushed bright red as he saw his package. He looked himself over and over once more, just be sure. He even went as far as to pinch himself repeatedly to make sure he wasn't dreaming, and when he found out that he was not dreaming and wide awaken, and the changes were real, and not henge he might have used accidentally in his dreams, he couldn't help but once more comment, "What the hell happened to me?" He then got an idea and decided to see if the sudden changes had an effect on his 2 signature jutsus. Kage Bushin Jutsu. The blonde ninja summoned 3 clones, and to his absolute shock they too had the same features as he did. It was officially not henge. There was no way he was dreaming all of this. 1. He then decided to see what happened to the personal jutsu that he created a while before, the same one he knocked Ebisu, Irika, and Saratobi with. Sexy no Jutsu. The blonde transformed into the form he used to stun the men of Konoha on more than one occasion, and wondered if his sudden physical changes affected that form as well, just as his other Kage Bushin clones also used the same jutsu. The second the smoke cleared, Naruto looked at the mirror, and his other clones in their sexy no jutsu form, and the only words that came out of his mouth, and that of his clones, was, "Oh my freaking god!" Not only had he changed in his normal form as a boy, but even in his sexy no jutsu, he had gotten substantial changes, and emphasis on the word substantial. The hair he had in this henge was no longer in their twin tails, but was in a lush and smooth long tail of golden silk with the same silver highlights. There were 2 long tails in the front that framed the face. The face would have been enough to make a man stare at it all day, and even the most beautiful women to take notice, as the face had smooth skin and full red lips, high and well-formed cheekbones, and the eyes were also a deep sapphire blue with silver highlights, enough to entrance a man and make him blush to the point of being a tomato and bleed out buckets worth of blood like a garden hose. He looked at the clones who were in the same sexy jutsu form and studied the forms they had and his own in the mirror. Not only was his sexy jutsu form taller than he recalled, but more shapely and well-formed. The arms were slender but well-formed and defined, the breasts were large and were certainly ample, so to speak, bouncing with natural grace when he moved, but settled gracefully and thrust out proudly when he landed. The hips were well-shaped and perfectly proportioned, the legs were well-formed, long, shapely and slender. The henge he used was now very much womanly indeed, enough to give any of the women here in the village of Konoha a run for their money too. Despite the absolute shock of the whole affair, Naruto had to admit, there were a great deal of possibilities that he could pull off with this new and seriously improved sexy jutsu. He didn't even want to guess how the others were going to react when they saw him. As soon as he returned to his normal form and dispersed his clones, he realized that he was supposed to meet up with the rest of his team at the bridge today to get the latest mission. He took out his clothes and grunted a bit as they were a bit tighter than before, and he made a mental note to go and convince the clothes store owner to give him some fresh and better fitting clothes. Once he was dressed, he reached out and took Holy Talon and placed it on his back, and the weapon bonded instantly to him as if it was held by some invisible belt. Once he was done, he rushed out of his house, and once he talked with his teammates, he was going to head out to the ramen shop and grab something to eat. One imagined him looking a bit like the 4th Hokage when the man was older, and add a dash of Titus of Final Fantasy X, and you've got his new looks. 2. If you want a more visual description of what happened to Naruto's sexy jutsu, and what form it's currently in now, well, let me put it this way: if you've seen the anime and manga Tenjo Tenge, then Naruto's enhanced sexy jutsu form resembles a fusion of the Natsum sisters, Maya and Aya, so you can bet your money that it really puts in the term sexy right on the dot. At the bridge, Sakura was currently standing on the bridge with Sasuke leaning on the rails. Both of them were waiting for their teammate to show up for the meeting with Kakashi. However, both of them were also deep in thought. Well, one of them was, as Sakura was happy to have some alone time with Sasuke. Sasuke, on the other hand, was cranky and tired. He had searched the scrolls until early morning and still found nothing in his clan's scroll collection that spoke of the Holy Talon or any sword that had the same power as it did. It was as if that was one artifact that none of his clan had ever seen before, and that made him very curious and very frustrated. "Hey, Sakura-chan." Sakura turned and spoke to the only guy she knew who spoke like that. "Naruto. Please don't be late like Kakashi, huh?" Sakura's irritated look was replaced with wide eyes as she gazed at Naruto. She couldn't help but stare, as Naruto seemed to have changed overnight, and quite literally at that. She noted the change in height, looks, eyes, and even the hair. She couldn't help but look transfixed at the blonde as Naruto greeted her good morning and offered his usual smile, and for some reason she felt like she was going to blush. She fought it down and looked closer. Well, what happened to Naruto? He's different. Her inner self, however, had other terms to describe the sight before her. Different? He's not different, girl, he's hot. Who knew he'd look like this in one night? This has to be a trick of some sort. Maybe he's using henge or something. Sakura then placed the proper hand signals and uttered the jutsu designed to dispel henge and genjutsu. Kai. She opened her eyes and was stunned to see Naruto's new features had not disappeared. There was no henge the blonde ninja was using at the moment, and that really got Sakura surprised as she decided to look closely. She noted that his usual clothes looked tighter, and he seemed taller for some reason. As soon as she was done, she couldn't help but ask, "Naruto, what happened to you?" "I don't know really, I just came back from the ramen shop last night, and went to sleep. The next thing I knew I woke up and looked in the mirror in my bathroom and I was like this." "Are you kidding me, Naruto? No one turns into well this in just one night?" "Not that I'm complaining or anything, whoa. Did I just say that?" "Darn right you did, girl." "Well, I did." Sasuke then looked at Naruto, and he ignored Naruto's sudden changes, and Naruto glared back, and the two looked away from one another with a snort, making Sakura worried and depressed. "Oh man, they've acted like this when we got back from Wave Country. I feel like I'm dealing with children all of a sudden." "Darn it, Kakashi-sensei, get your butt over here." A bit later, the three genin waited and waited, and when they felt like they couldn't wait anymore, the chronically late copycat ninja of Konoha appeared on the top of one of the bridge's archways. "Hey guys, sorry I'm late. I got lost in the path of life." "Liar!" Both Naruto and Sakura shouted as Sasuke merely looked on but also spared a glance at the sword strapped to Naruto's back. It was then that Kakashi noted the sudden changes that Naruto had experienced, and he gave a low whistle. Well, now you've got a brand new look, Naruto, and you certainly look, well, how should I say this? Impressive. What happened last night to make you change? I don't know, Kakashi-sensei. Last night I was telling Irika-sensei about the mission in Wave Country and went home. The next thing I knew I woke and I'm this. Are you sure you're not using henge or something? No. I swear this isn't henge. I even pinched myself 10 times to see if I was sleeping. Sakura then spoke to the Jonin. Naruto's telling the truth, Kakashi-sensei. I also tried using the release jutsu, but there was no henge to dispel this, as Naruto. As he got down, Kakashi examined Naruto more thoroughly, and despite the changes in looks, height, and muscle mass, there was no doubt in the former Anbu's mind that this was Naruto, not a clone or in a henge, and if he was in henge it was a darn good one. Very interesting. It seems that the sword might have something to do with this. I know I'm just guessing, but I can't think up of any other explanation at the moment. Kakashi then recalled his time with the Hokage yesterday, and what he was ordered to tell Naruto. By the way, Naruto, I managed to have a conference with the Hokage last night in order to tell him about what happened in our mission at Wave Country. He asked that you meet him at the practice field where we had the bell test at one time. He will be meeting you there. The old man wants to talk to me? What for, Kakashi-sensei? He had researched on the origin of the sword you have with you. He might be able to find information on where that sword of yours came from and who made it, and he wanted to talk to you about what he might have found. So I suggest you get moving already. But I want a mission, Kakashi-sensei, and no more missions with mundane stuff. Okay, I mean real missions this time. I know I can handle them now. I bet you do. However, there isn't much in terms of missions right now, so my hands are tied at the moment. But stop wasting time and head off to the practice field. Is Sakura-chan and, well, Sasuke coming along? No, it's a private conversation between the two of you only. Now get going. Alright then, I'll see you guys later. As Naruto took off to the practice field, the silver-haired Jonin then turned to face the rest of his team, and he coughed to gain their attention. The two Genin faced Kakashi as he began to speak to them about what the Hokage had told him concerning the events at Wave Country. I was given some orders from the Hokage to give to the two of you. Orders from the Hokage himself? Sasuke raised an eyebrow at that, and that was something of a first actually, while Sakura was also surprised at the words Kakashi was saying. That's correct, Sasuke. The Hokage has ordered that none of you will talk about what happened at Wave Country, namely with the powers Naruto used in the battles we were in with Zabuza and Haku, and then with Gato and his hired goons. That order will remain in effect until the Hokage learns enough and says otherwise. Why is that, Kakashi-sensei? I can't really get into details at this point, Sakura, but suffice to say what happened in that mission was unprecedented in Konoha's history, and the Hokage is not taking chances. Despite the apparent benefits that Naruto has gained since acquiring that sword known as the Holy Talon, there might be some side effects that we don't know of that can be dangerous to him, and might cause him harm, and also the village. No offense meant, Kakashi-sensei, but why would the Hokage be concerned with what happens to Naruto? Well, Sasuke, the Hokage and Naruto have a unique relationship. Despite his antics, Naruto looks up to the Hokage as grandfather, and while he might not like Naruto's behavior on certain cases, the Sandaime sees him as a grandson as well, in the same league as his own blood grandson. We'll just leave it at that. I need to file my full report to the council as well, so for today, you two have free time on your hands. As Kakashi left to do his duty, Sasuke thought about something and decided to move out. Sakura wondered just where he was going, and so he called out. Sasuke, where are you going? I'm going to take a peek at something. What do you mean by that? Wait, you plan to soy on the conversation between the Hokage and Naruto? Just to figure some details, you don't have to come with me at all, and you should be better off training too. With that, Sasuke took off, leaving Sakura behind, and she wondered whether she should go after Sasuke or get caught. With some misgivings in her heart, Sakura decided to back away for now and take a walk to make sense of what has been happening since the mission. In the practice field. I see you've made it, Naruto. At least you're not late as Kakashi is. Nice to see you too, old man. Naruto smiled as he approached the Hokage. He was tempted to reveal his new and seriously improved sexy jutsu in front of him, but recalled what happened the last time he tried the still unchanged version and decided against it. Sarutobi then noted the differences in Naruto's appearance, and he couldn't help but raise an eyebrow as the sudden changes Naruto had undergone, and he surmised that it might have something to do with that sword he had with him. I see you've undergone quite some changes, Naruto. I have to admit the new looks caught me by surprise. I know, and I don't know why it happened at all. It's like it just happened overnight. Do you know why that happened, old man? I can't really give any information, Naruto, but I suspect that your new sword might have something to do with it. The Holy Talon? You mean you've found out information about it? I've only made a guess, Naruto, and I'm afraid that even though I've spent the whole night and early morning poring through all of our archives and scrolls, I was not able to find a single mention of the Holy Talon. No mention? Are you saying that the sword's not in the archives? I believe so, however I came to the conclusion that we might find answers from the sword itself. I have a feeling that you might have more details on how you got that sword, Naruto. Now tell me everything that happened there at Wave Country, and from your own perspective this time. Naruto then told him of how he saw the sword and touched it, and heard voices talking to him, and saying that he was deemed worthy to hold Holy Talon, or rather the Holy Dragon's sword, and he then spoke of what happened afterwards. Sarutobi was naturally surprised by what Naruto told him about the voice he heard that seemed to come from the sword itself. As soon as Naruto was done explaining everything, the elderly leader of Konoha then had an idea. Naruto, I want you to try and speak to that voice once more, considering you appear to be the only one who can wield it properly. It might obey only you, and the voice will respond only to you and your orders. Naruto took out the Holy Talon and looked at it, and he spoke mentally, the same way he had done before with the voice. Can you hear me, Holy Talon? I can hear you, Master Naruto. What is it you wish of me? I want to know who made you, where did you come from, and what exactly are you? I see you wish to know more about my origins and my creators and what I am? Yeah, you didn't exactly tell me everything about yourself, and if what the old man said was true, you have something to do with my new looks. So will you tell me about yourself, Holy Talon? I am afraid I cannot at this point. However, I can allow you to speak to my high-ranking master and creator, or at least a manifestation of him. It's not too hard to do. Merely place me into the ground and speak the name the knights mentioned and say the phrase, "Come forth and speak your lore." I will do the rest. Is that all? Yes. Naruto then broke his speech with the sword and then told Sarutobi what the Holy Talon had told him. Sarutobi considered the ramifications of the statement, and decided since this is the best course of action to find answers, he gave Naruto a nod, and Naruto went to work and placed the sword into the ground blade first, and spoke just as Sasuke was hiding as best he could in the brush and undergrowth. Faldrin, come forth and speak your lore. Who the heck is Faldrin anyway? Those summon men said that before, so who is this Faldrin? Wait a moment, could he be the creator of that sword? The sword suddenly glowed deep white and a blast of energy was unleashed in a heartbeat that blinded both Sarutobi and Naruto, and even Sasuke had to cover his eyes. The shockwave was felt by all the ninja in Konoha, and some of the other teams were caught off guard as well as they all looked for the source of the sudden energy wave. When the light faded, Naruto, Sarutobi, and Sasuke looked and gasped as they saw the sword was still glowing, but they were for the moment not concerned with the glowing sword but were more concerned by the thing that appeared. They were now looking at the strangest creature they had ever seen. In simple terms, they were looking at a dragon. But not just any dragon, but a dragon lord. What kind of creature is that? It's monstrous. I've never seen anything like it before in my whole career. That is one big lizard. And with wings no less. The three looked at a creature that was as tall as a 3-story building and was covered in shimmering golden scales that glowed gently in the sun, and the scales were rimmed with silver edges. There were 4 limbs about it, all of them had 5 toes and had razor-sharp metallic-like claws, though one claw in the right forelimb was missing. There was a beast-like elegance and beauty about the creature, and it appeared to have wings that appeared to be folded. It had a long tail with several bony plates on it that tapered into a spear-like tail tip, and a long mane of golden hair with silver mixed into it ran from the base of the tail tip to the back of the head, which was on a long gracefully shaped neck. The head was like that of a reptile, and there was a giant glowing diamond on the forehead on the creature and a pair of 4 horns on either side that flowed backward. The creature curled its lips upward to reveal rows of very sharp teeth, and its deep rainbow-like eyes were directed solely at Naruto. Sarutobi had no idea what monster this was and quickly took off his Hokage robes and hat, and was now in the same outfit that he wore in his youth, and he spoke to Naruto. Get behind me, Naruto. The creature then opened its mouth, and amazingly enough it spoke, and in a royal tone that demanded respect and attention, yet in a patient and calm manner. Peace, elder. I mean you and the boy no harm. There is no need for violence. Sarutobi's eyes widened and Naruto was in awe, and even the normally cool-headed and indifferent Sasuke was stunned out of his mind as he looked at the creature before him. The thing spoke. What kind of creature is it? Who are you? Sarutobi asked as he still kept Naruto behind him. He didn't know what this creature was or if his ninja skills could match it, but he would not let any harm come to the blonde as long as he was still alive and breathing. Forgive me, I guess I forgot my manners since it has been a while since I was manifested. However, I would like to see the wielder of Holy Talon step forward, wielder. Naruto didn't know why, but the voice held no threat, anger, or malice, and he stepped away from Sarutobi, despite the misgivings the elder had. As soon as he was before the creature, it moved forward and Naruto now found himself staring at the creature face to face. He felt great fear and anxiety, hoping that neither would show and get him into trouble with the creature. After a few moments, the creature moved back and gave a grin and spoke. You are not exactly what I expected to be the new wielder of Holy Talon. Regardless, the sword is wise and foresighted when it came to choosing wielders, even those who appear ordinary. As to who I am Faldron Dragon, Lord of the Holy Dragons and Chief Creator of Holy Talon. Though in this case I am only a manifestation and therefore I cannot last long in the material plane. I see that you have questions. You may ask them now if you both wish, and I will answer them to the best of my ability. Sarutobi was the first to speak. What exactly is a dragon, and why is it you can speak? I am not surprised you asked me that question, Elder, since I have sensed that there are no such dragons in your world. We dragons are being born of the earth and magic of the world. We serve as living reservoirs of magic and energy, and as such we have long lifespans. Thus we can learn and retain memories at a very large capacity. I have lived for over 25,000 years now, and I am the oldest of my race, and as such, I have learned many tongues apart from my native Draconian tongue. I have also learned much in terms of art, history, warfare, combat, and more. Naruto then asked the Dragon Lord something. How, Faldron, sir? Yes, wielder? Do you eat other beings like me? Good gracious, no. I find the idea of eating mortal beings such as yourself distasteful, and a grievous sin, though I partake in feasting with humans such as yourself in my human disguise. I must admit that your race is quite creative when it comes to feasts. You can become a human? Of course I can take the appearance and form of a human of any age, young wielder, for you see, many of my kin have such a talent, and we use it well when the needs suit us, apart from our powers and abilities. We holy dragons love justice, compassion, mercy, life, knowledge, and more, and we preserve peace as best we can, and that is why I am here to talk, not to fight. However, that does not mean we are weak creatures and we can fight as fiercely and deadly as any fighter. Are there others like you, Faldron? Yes, Elder, I rule several large flights of holy dragons along with my own brood, but we are not the only dragons who exist in our realm. Really? Are they like you as well? Faldron looked at Naruto and shook his head. I am afraid not, wielder. The other race of dragons are not the same, for they follow the path of darkness. We call them the Chaos Dragons. Our respective realms have a very long and difficult history. If you wish, I will tell you as much as I can, and then I will explain to you what is Holy Talon. The Dragon Lord then spun a tale before the two and told them the history of their kind and their wars with their dark brethren. We have been at war with our dark kin for millennia, and for a good reason. While my kin and I rule the realms we live in with peace, justice, knowledge, freedom, hope, compassion, mercy, and duty, the Chaos Dragons and their leader Chorvax, who like me is the oldest and wisest of his kin, rule their realms through slavery, corruption, hatred, greed, malice, anger, death, destruction, power, hunger, and evil. They have twisted the minds and hearts of their mortal followers who fear and worship them. They see mortals as pawns, food, and toys to play with to amuse themselves and not worthy of being treated any better. They sought to do the same to those under our protection, and we have fought back in kind, and many of our kin and theirs have died in these battles that tore the lands and remade them as well. Mortals under our respective realms also fought each other as well. The battles lasted for generations upon generations, and we were tired of the countless slaughters and the battles that were fought between us, them and our respective followers. As such, I called for a ceasefire and spoke to Chorvax in the borderlands. There we realized that there would be no true compromise, even though I had convinced him that while he would revel in the slaughter and death, he would soon wipe out all of his followers, and what sort of empire would he rule if all were dead? While we knew that even without our presence, mortals would continue to fight one another, we no longer wished to fight and rip the lands to shreds. So we all found an alternative. I gathered my kin, and with one of my talons and one of my scales, and out combined powers, wills and magic, we created a sword of immense power and poured into it portions of our magic, essences, martial and physical prowess, and our beliefs and philosophies. By the end of 4 years since then, we created the sword, and I blessed it with my blood and fire. I placed the sword in our most sacred place, and mortals who wished to seek it out with pure hearts, souls, and minds were able to wield it. The sword itself was alive, and it was true judge on who would wield it. In time, we gave each successful wielder the title of Dragon Champion, and as you might have guessed, that sword was given a name by those who couldn't speak the draconian tongue Holy Talon. Naruto was in awe as he looked at the weapon before him and was amazed that the living sword chose him to wield it. Sarutobi then asked another question. What is the Holy Talon capable of? Faldron began to explain to the Hokage, and Sasuke was spellbound at what he had heard. Holy Talon is a living weapon, as you already know, due to our combined mystical powers and it being part of my body and imbued with my blood, fire, and magic. It cannot be chipped, damaged, or broken by any mortal means or weapons. No forge known to mortals can break it, and it can cleave and slice any other metal like it was nothing but mere clay or cloth, and any form of armor can be easily cut with one swipe. As it is filled with magic, which is quite different in nature and application from the energy you know as chakra, it can cast spells and mystical forces that can overpower most if not all foes. Magic can be used to heal, attack, summon, defend, and conjure. It is also able to absorb the essences without harm from each dragon champion that has wielded it in the past. What do you mean by that? I thought Naruto was a dragon champion, as you said. That is true, he is a dragon champion, but to be more accurate, he is the first dragon champion of this world, for where it was forged, many warriors of various powers and skills have wielded Holy Talon in battle. When called upon, these essences can fill the current wielder with the power, skill, and knowledge of all previous dragon champions who fought with the Holy Talon in hand. It also has powers to call forth holy dragon allies of various powers. When you call them, the dragons you summon will aid you in whatever venture you wish and will fight with you in battle. Wow! This is so cool! I thank you for letting me the wielder of you Holy Talon. Faldron smiled at Naruto's antics, and so did Sarutobi, as the old ninja was getting used to the dragon's presence. Sasuke was livid as he realized that Naruto had gained a serious edge over him, and that was painful to deal with. However, Faldron spoke once more. However, wielder, I must caution you on several important matters concerning your ownership of Holy Talon. Just because you are the wielder, doesn't mean you have free reign with the weapon. By the way, what happened to me anyway? Faldron grinned once more as he already knew just what sort of topic Naruto was about to bring up. You speak of your sudden physical changes? Are they not to your liking? I had thought that a young, strapping lad like you would appreciate them. They will certainly help in getting attention from the opposite gender, and if you are lucky in more ways than one. Naruto blushed bright red at that, and Sarutobi coughed a bit as he admitted that with those new looks of his in a few years' time, Naruto would give even Kakashi a run for his money. Faldron laughed gently and spoke. However, your physical changes are not merely for aesthetical purposes, wielder. In order for you to be able to utilize the full power of Holy Talon, your body had to adapt and change in order to handle the physical, martial, and mystical requirements of the powers of the Holy Talon. Normally such changes are subtle, but since you are quite young, they are now more pronounced. They will remain with you until you reach adulthood, which apparently will be far away from now. The physical changes will also help you in utilizing the essences of the previous dragon champions that you may summon to aid you, and also your dragon allies as well, though you will still need to train to master the higher level essences and spells, but as I have said before, you do not have free reign with the weapon. What do you mean by that? As it is a weapon of justice and is alive, it has the gift of sensing the auras of those around it, and it could read hearts, souls, minds, and natures the same way you would read a book. As such, it will not wound or kill those who have committed no crimes, who are innocent of any wrongdoing, and are of pure hearts, natures, and souls. As such, the weapon will not be used to kill or murder innocent lives, no matter how much the wielder may force it. It may cut armor and clothes, but never the flesh of the innocent and pure. If the wielder becomes corrupted, then the Holy Talon would disown the owner and fade away to be found by another. Of course, it will kill those who are evil instantly. Another limitation is the fact that its powers, while immense, are not limitless. When the magic of the sword is drained in a great fashion, it will take time to recharge its reserves. That also goes for the essences of the dragon champions who reside in the sword. Once that happens, depending on the drain, the Holy Talon will not be able to create spells, or summon at all. It will retain its martial and physical qualities, but its mystical powers will take time. You might noted that some of your comrades couldn't lift the sword when you handed it to them. That is a built-in defense for the Holy Talon. If the ones who hold it are of pure and uncorrupted hearts, but not chosen by it, the weapon will become too heavy to lift no matter how strong they may be. However, the reaction of Holy Talon to those of evil natures who try to take is another matter. Why? Let's just say it is a far from pleasant experience when they attempt to hold the sword. Are there other swords like Holy Talon? Yes, but this one was forged by the Chaos Dragons, and their leader Chorvax, who used one of his fangs and scales for the process, and like us, he and his kin imbued their blood, portions of their power, their martial, and physical powers into the sword, and when it was also finished in 4 years, Chorvax blessed it with his own powers, and he too placed this weapon in their most sacred place, for mortals who worship them to find. Those who were able to find that sword were also blessed with the title of Dragon Champion when the sword chose them to wield it, and like the Holy Talon, the sword forged by the Chaos Dragons was known by another mortal named Death Fang. Death Fang possessed the same level of power as Holy Talon, but is imbued with dark energies and is corruption incarnate, wielding dark magic and evil energy. Like Holy Talon, it too can contain and release the essence of the previous dragon champions who wielded in generations past, allowing the current wielder to have the powers, skills, and abilities of those who used it before. But it is filled with hatred, malice, greed, corruption, anger, bloodlust, the desire to kill, subjugate, and dominate all life. Death Fang therefore does not make distinctions on its victims. It will kill anyone, regardless if they are good, evil, or innocent. All it does is obey the order of its wielder to kill without mercy. And as such its wielder revels in death, bloodshed and warfare, becoming a merciless berserker. Years before, the last dragon champions who wielded both Holy Talon and Death Fang fought in Dragon's Basin, a large rocky valley, and in the end of the battle the swords were sent far away by a maelstrom of magic, and judging by the fact you wield the Holy Talon, then both swords are here in your world. If that is the case, then you must be ready, wielder, for there will come a time that one from this world will meet the needs of Death Fang, and when that happens, the Chaos Dragon Champion will arise and seek you out. When it does happen, you must be ready. Naruto gulped when he realized that there was such another sword in existence here on his world, and that if it was ever found and chose a wielder, then everything was going to change, and certainly not for the better. But he was not going to back down. His way of the ninja would not allow it. He smiled and nodded. Don't you worry about a thing, Faldrin. I will be ready. Whoever finds Death Fang will soon know they will be facing the new Hokage of Konoha and the new Dragon Champion. Believe it. Faldrin smiled as he looked at the boy. You have spirit now, only time will tell if you have what it takes to face your new destiny as Dragon Champion. Now I must leave. My time in the material plane is at an end. If you need my help, and I am up to it, then call on me when you can. With that, the Dragon Lord glowed once more, and in the same way he arrived, he left the two standing there. Naruto blinked and then walked over to Holy Talon and reached out and grasped its handle and took out the sword as Sarutobi walked over and patted his hand on Naruto's head. It seems you have a long road ahead of you, Naruto, and I think you should be getting ready. I will be more than ready, old man. Believe it. Same old kid as before. You had better head back to the village. I have a feeling your team might need your help, but do not mention this meeting to them for now until you trust them well enough to do this again. I doubt they are ready to meet a Dragon Lord, and neither was I for sure. Got it, old man. See you later. As Naruto moved on after sheathing his sword, he decided to look for Sakura and Sasuke, hoping to find them and see just what sort of missions they might get soon. He then got into a conversation with Holy Talon and asked him if there were some essences he could use for a moment. And he asked the Holy Talon if he could get some better fitting clothes. The voice of the sword spoke and requested just what sort of clothes did Naruto want. Unknown to Naruto, Sasuke, who had witnessed everything, left the hiding place he had and walked back, trying to look indifferent, but his mind was in fact reeling from what he had learned. He tried to contain himself and focus on the task at hand as he decided to find Sakura. Later. Please let him go. He's just a kid and it was an accident. Sakura tried to reason with the young man who had grabbed Konohamaru by the throat. The young grandson of the third Hokage was currently playing with his two friends when they met Sakura. Since Konohamaru had been told just who his rival for the title of Hokage and friend Naruto was working with, he asked Sakura if she was Naruto's friend. This got Sakura's attention and she couldn't respond. Normally, before Naruto's sudden makeover, she would have denied it and said that she worked only with Sasuke. But since Naruto's changes, she couldn't help but have strange thoughts in her mind, and despite her thoughts, she blushed a bit as she recalled Naruto's new look that was naturally misinterpreted by Konohamaru, and he asked if Sakura was Naruto's girlfriend. Naturally, Sakura didn't take too kindly to that and attacked Konohamaru, and she chased them around, and they ran into the two. One of them was dressed in black clothes and a hood and seemed to have something on his back wrapped in bandages. He also had purple paint on his face in a set pattern, like the ones worn by actors, and he currently was the one who grabbed Konohamaru by the throat. The other one was a blonde girl who had her hair in 4 short tails of some sort and had deep green eyes, and she appeared to be dressed in a different fashion from the male, and seemed to carry a massive metal object that resembled a triangle of some sort. She does have a point. Let the kid go. We're not here to be picking fights with children of all things. No can do. This kid ran into me and I'm going to make sure he's going to regret pissing me off. Konohamaru's comrades, who were Moegi and Udan, were very afraid, and Sakura didn't know what to do. From the way the two moved, she could tell that they were skilled, and it didn't take very long for her to know just who they are. They appeared to be genin, and from the land of wind as well. What's going on here? Sakura looked at. There was Sasuke, who was carrying a pebble. Sasuke-kun! Help us, he's going to hurt Konohamaru. Sasuke knew who that was and moved forward and tossed up a small pebble up and down, and he spoke to the genin who still held Konohamaru. You might want to consider releasing the boy. No can do, I'm going to break this kid's body and make him really regret hitting me. The blonde looked at Sasuke and smiled a bit with a slight reddening on her face. Well, it seems the local cutie showed up. However, just as Sasuke was going to deal with the new arrival, a whistling sound was heard and Sasuke felt something coming at high speed and then dodged aside, and when he looked he heard a deep biting strike on earth, and when he looked, there was a sword buried in front of the ground before the one holding up Konohamaru, and he quickly recognized it. The Holy Talon? What the heck is? Before the one holding Konohamaru could finish his question, the sword disappeared, and he then felt something under the tip of his chin. The moment he looked, the sword was poised right at his throat, and when he followed it, the sword was being held by someone in one hand. He followed the weapon and found himself staring at none other than Naruto Uzumaki, who was looking at him with controlled fury. The blonde ninja was now wearing a muscle shirt that was deep black with an orange vest with black and blue trim, and apart from the swirl on the left side of the vest, there was a metal dragon on the right, along with the symbol of Konoha being surrounded by a dragon. His left arm was covered by the long sleeves and his right forearm was not covered, therefore his silver dragon tattoo that showed his status as Holy Talon's wielder was exposed. He was also wearing black pants that had flame patterns in orange, with his kunai pouch and his shuriken pouch as well, and he wore dark black sandals as well. He still had his Konoha forehead protector as well. That was the only part of his clothes that was the same as the clothes he normally wore. Boss. Naruto? Naruto didn't answer and pushed the blade forward, barely touching the skin and cutting it, but he made his threat very clear to the one holding his friend. You had better let go of Konohamaru right now unless you want me to drive this sword right into your skull. The blonde girl with the four tails took a very good look at Naruto and noted his features, namely the eyes, the face, the blonde hair and silver highlights. She also noted the muscles that were being shown by the tight muscle shirt and pants, and despite the tenseness of the situation, she couldn't help but blush in a deeper shade of red as she took in Naruto's features. Scratch that, this new guy's not cute, he's smoking hot. I didn't know that Konoha had such hot guys. The blonde girl wasn't the only one affected, as Moegi blushed bright red and had hearts in her eyes, and even though Sakura tried to hide her own reaction, the new look Naruto had certainly added more power to his new features. Naruto turned and looked at his friend, but only at the corner of his eye, as he kept his eyes pinned on the one who had the grandson of Sarutobi in his grip. You okay, Konohamaru? I'm fine, boss, that was so cool. You've really got to show me that move someday. Naruto grinned a bit, but that faded as he looked his dragon-influenced gaze at the one before him, making the normally arrogant guy move back a step, much to Sakura's surprise, Konohamaru's admiration, Udan and Moegi's awe, and Sasuke's indifferent look. With that, Naruto relaxed his stance and pulled Holy Talon back, but only for an inch. You've got some guts to be holding my friend in that way. Who the hell are you two, and what are you doing here in Konoha? I don't to answer that, brat, I'll take you out right now. With that, the dark-dressed boy reached out for that object he had on the back of his body and placed it down hard, forcing Naruto to take a defensive stance with the sword placed backward in level height of his head for a swipe or a block and in a two-handed grip. What? You're using Kurasa here? Naruto, however, was not going to back down as he relaxed his grip so to control his sword more. However, before things could get underway, he sensed a great deal of killing intent, much greater than normal, around the level of Zabuza as well, and then he heard a voice. Kankuro, what are you doing? The people turned, and so did Naruto, and he spotted a strangely dressed boy with what appeared to be a forehead protector like the other two, but unlike the blonde girl and the dark-clothed guy, he carried what appeared to be an entire gourd of sand. He had dark red hair, a character on his forehead that spelled love, and deep green-blue eyes as well. There seemed to be markings underneath the eyes and surrounded the eyes as well, almost like a mask of some sort. He was using the tree-walking technique to look down on the whole thing. Naruto didn't like the feeling he was getting from this guy and looked at the other two as the new arrival spoke. You're an embarrassment to our village with that reckless action of yours. The girl seemed to be in panic, and the guy with the bandage-wrapped object seemed to become very afraid for some reason, as was evidenced by his voice and response to the new arrival. Oh, hi Gaara. Sasuke looked at Gaara and was impressed. That guy moved real fast, and so silently only Jonin like Kakashi are that skilled, yet he seems to be a genin. The new arrival, whose name was Gaara, then directed his gaze at Sasuke and then at Naruto, which the Genin and Dragon champion returned in the same serious fashion. Who's this guy? He's different but has the same symbol as the other two, and what's with that gourd? The blonde one with the suit and sword, he moved very fast. This guy needs to be watched. Back at Hokage Tower, Sarutobi looked at all the assembled Jonin, including Kakashi, along with the other Jonin, and Chunin as well. The Hokage knew the three he was about to call forward, Kakashi and two others, his son Sarutobi Asuma, and the resident Genjutsu specialist Yuhi Kurenai. They were here to choose to have their respective teams, which included Naruto's classmates, to take the Chunin exams. You all know you were all called here, as you see the rest of your fellow Jonin are here as well. It's the time of the year already? I guess I forgot all about it. Sarutobi Asuma sighed as he still had his cigarette in his mouth, though at the moment, it was not lighted. I take it that the other countries and villages had been notified? There were some of them who were in the village recently. Yuhi Kurenai looked on and asked the natural question. So, when does it begin? The Hokage looked at everyone in the chamber pointedly, and while he was still smoking his pipe, gave the answer to Yuhi Kurenai's question. The Chunin exams will begin exactly 1 week from now. That got a rise from Kakashi, as the timetable was certainly not the same as he recalled from the last time the Chunin exams were held. 1 week from now? That's cutting it a little close. The Hokage took out the pipe from his mouth and blew out a large cloud of smoke and sighed. He admitted that Kakashi had a point, but things were already in motion and he certainly couldn't just change the whole thing. Even if he wanted to, there was a lot riding on today's Chunin exams, and it was make or break time. I'll be giving the official announcement. 7 days from now, on the first day of the month of July, we will begin the selections for candidates for the Chunin exams. The mightiest tree in the forest was born of a weak seed, and through time and through perseverance against all odds and all dangers, a great tree, tall and strong, is born there and stands proud and defiant before all who face it. Never forget that the greatest champions were mere men and women, who grew into heroes in their darkest times. You have to start small to become something greater. An old saying from the memoirs of a former Holy Dragon champion. Back in the field, Naruto still kept his sword aimed right at Kankuro, but his gaze was directed at the new arrival Gaara. Something about him seemed very familiar to him for some reason, and when Kankuro directed his attention to Gaara, the dragon champion relaxed his stance and went into a neutral position. Gaara then directed his attention squarely on Kankuro. You're becoming an embarrassment to the village. Have you forgotten the reason we came all the way here to Konoha, Kankuro? I doubt it involves picking fights with kids at random. I know, but they started the whole thing. They provoked us, you see. Spare me the excuses, keep that up, and I'll kill you in a heartbeat. Yeah, right, I was totally out of line. Gaara then directed his attention to the gathered people, including Sakura, Sasuke, and Naruto, along with Konohamaru and his friends. I'm sorry for the trouble he might have caused. Gaara then faded into sand and disappeared from the branch, and quickly reappeared on the ground in the same swirl of sand, allowing Naruto to further study this new arrival. He was then called by the voice of his sword. There's something about that one, Master Naruto. I feel a source of evil buried inside of his body, and it might have a connection to his ability to manipulate sand and that gourd he carries. That's not good. We'll have to keep tabs on him then. What about the other two? What can you sense from them? Believe it or not, Master, they appear to be siblings. From what I can sense, the blonde girl with the giant metal case is the eldest of the three, with the one named Kankuro carrying that thing on his back to be the middle sibling, and the one named Gaara appears to be the youngest. Gaara then faced both Kankuro and the still unnamed girl and spoke to them in the same manner. Let's go, we didn't come here to play games and we've wasted too much time here already. Alright, sure, I get it. The three then began to leave, with the shorter one moving ahead of the other two, showing that despite being around Naruto's original height, he had authority in the team he was working with, and considering the reactions he made the others give out, he was more than capable of being the one to give the orders. Sakura, however, was not going to let this matter go off just like that. However, it wasn't in her nature to do so in the first place. She moved past Naruto and then spoke to the three. Hold it, you three. The girl in the team was the one who answered for the rest of her group. What is it? I can tell that from those symbols you have on those forehead protectors. You're genin from the hidden village of the sand. While it's true that the land of wind and the land of fire are allies, no ninja from one village can come to another without a special reason, so why are you here? You really don't know? Have you guys been living under a rock or something? Of course we have a reason for being here in Konoha, and we are genin from the village of Hidden Sand, and we're here to take part of the Chunin exams. Get the idea now why we're here? Konohamaru then spoke as he recalled the things his grandfather taught to him about traditional events being hosted in villages such as Konoha. Oh yeah, that's right. This is supposed to be the time of the year for the Chunin exams. The Chunin exams is a special occasion where all genin will be able to enter, and if they pass well, they get the rank of Chunin, which is a step closer to being Jonin, and even better, you can be closer to being Hokage. Sakura was a bit surprised. In truth, she had heard about the Chunin exams being held, but she certainly wasn't aware of them being held at this time of the year. She had thought that they would be a few months more from now. Naruto had to smile at that, as he knew that the sound of all that is great news, namely since he was interested still in becoming Hokage, apart from taking his place as a dragon champion. However, he still needed to know a bit more about just who these three were, namely the one with the gourd. With that in mind, he moved forward and called out. Hold it, you three, you might as well tell us your full names, so we'll all know just who you are. The blonde turned and gave Naruto a sly and suggestive smile that made him raise his eyebrows at that, and she spoke to him. Do you mean me? Why not? After all, it is considered a courtesy for the ladies to go first. Ladies first, huh? You're a gentleman. I've never been called lady before. For you, handsome, I'll be more than happy to give you my name. I'm Temari. Greetings to you then, Temari. I apologize for the situation before as well, and I guess I should say welcome to Konoha, and I hope that you enjoy your time here during the Chunin exams. The food's really great here, namely the ramen. You should try some when you get the chance. Temari smiled back slyly at the greeting and invitation and was about to reply to Naruto, until the one named Kankura turned and glared at Naruto. Hey you! Don't get any bright ideas, you're not worthy of attention from my... Kankuru! He was asking for my name, what's with you? Naruto sighed and looked at the bickering pair of siblings. It's all right, Temari, it's a brother thing, and I take it that the one with the gourd is your youngest brother? The young man stopped moving and turned around and spoke to Naruto while examining the blonde ninja before him. That's correct, Temari is my sister, and Kankuru is my brother, and I am known as Gaara of the Desert. I'm curious about you as well, you're different for some reason than some of the genin I've met. What's your name? Well then, you gave yours, so I shall give mine. I am Naruto Uzumaki of Konoha. The two genin stared each other down. Gaara took a look at the sword that Naruto had in his hand, and Naruto looked at the gourd behind Gaara's back. The sand ninja studied the sword and could see a faint but very powerful aura coming from the weapon, and his eyes widened slightly at the feeling of energy that was coming from it. The blonde before him, and the tattoo on the blonde's arm, it excited Gaara in a way that he never thought possible, as he smiled a sadistic smile, a smile that unnerved both Temari and Kankuru when they saw it, and made Sakura gasp, along with Konohamaru. Udan and Moegi, and even Sasuke was a bit concerned. Naruto, however, was not going to back down, and smiled right back, making Gaara smile even more. You're very interesting, Naruto Uzumaki, far more than I thought. I'll look forward to fighting you in the tournament. Same here, Gaara of the Desert. And Naruto offered a salute with holy talon, and to the shock of his siblings most of all, Gaara smiled wider, and created a blade of pure sand in his hand and gave the same salute to Naruto. Afterwards, Gaara lost the smile and looked at the two of them. Come on, you two, we have to meet up with Sensei. Alright, Gaara. Temari followed Kankuru and Gaara, but the blonde female genin gave a smile to Naruto and a wink that made Naruto blush slightly, much to Temari's enjoyment. Besides, not only was Naruto the first to call her a lady, but he seemed to be able to stand up to her brother Gaara, and instead of killing the blonde hottie instantly for that, Gaara was excited for the chance to fight him. While that made her worry, she couldn't help but feel that there just might be something different about the blonde. This is getting very interesting. As soon as the Sand siblings left the site, Sakura walked over to Naruto. A part of her was relieved that the one named Gaara didn't attack, and the other one was a bit more complicated. The very moment she noted the sly and suggestive looks that the blonde Sand Kunoichi, she couldn't help but feel jealous. What? No. That's a bloody lie. I'm not jealous of Naruto getting looks from that Sand Kunoichi. Quit lying, girl. You saw the way she smiled at him. That girl likes Naruto. We can't let her get her hands on him. So what? Okay, I admit Naruto's cute now. Not cute, girl, he's hot as in smoking hot. Shut up. You okay, Naruto? I'm fine, Sakura-chan, are you alright? Sakura didn't answer at first, as she found herself staring at Naruto's blue eyes, which appeared to be in a much deeper and more attractive shade of blue, and tinged with deep silver edges around the irises. Despite herself, she was getting herself drawn into those eyes. She managed to rein in her thoughts and actions and spoke in answer to Naruto's question. I am fine, thank you for asking. Hey, you two, are you all fine? Naruto and Sakura turned to see Sasuke, who walked over, and he still managed to keep his now considered normal look. But in truth, Sasuke was seething as he saw how skilled Naruto had become. Not only was he able to move with considerable speed, when he tossed the sword, he was able to avoid hitting either the grandson of the fourth Hokage or the others, and he was moving at such a speed that it rivaled Haku's easily. Yeah, we're all fine, Sasuke-kun. Naruto merely looked at Sasuke and decided not to think about it for now. However, the recent bits of information that were told to him did give him some new things to think about. However, he decided that it would be far better that he got all the facts right before he made a decision. He smiled as he recalled the looks he got in his new garb, as he had packed up his older clothes in a bag and left it in the care of the clothing store. He had managed to get enough money to buy his new clothes and made some mystical modifications to them when he bought the clothes. He was unaware of the fact that the female store clerk had seen his looks, and despite able to recognize him as the supposed container of the demon fox, she was awed by his looks and agreed to sell the clothes at half price. A bargain indeed, and Naruto smiled warmly at her for that, and she blushed bright red and bade him farewell with the promise to keep his old clothes safe until he came back to pick them up. Hey Sakura-chan, do you think there's a chance we could be able to take the Chunin exams? The pink-haired Kunoichi thought about that bit of information carefully and thought about what she had heard about the Chunin exams. Some of the things she heard were not very appealing, but if that was the way for them to advance to the next rank, it was understandable in her mind why genin would come from all the world to participate. Maybe, but I don't think we can do that right now. From what I've heard, it's all up to the Jonin squad leader, and also the team must undergo a certain number of missions before they are eligible to take the exam, and so far we only took on a few missions, including the one in Wave Country, despite the dangers we actually found along the way. Either way, however, the whole choice is up to Kakashi-sensei if he'll let us be part of the teams in the Chunin exams. Naruto smiled at the idea and boasted once more. Ha! We can do it, you know. With your sharp mind, Sasuke's Sharingan, and my own skills, we can ace the Chunin exams and be all Chunin with no problem whatsoever. Besides, it'll be awesome to meet all the genin from other countries and villages and see what they've got so we can really test ourselves. I can bet that there's some really tough genin teams out there, and with them all coming here for the exams it's going to be one hell of a few days, or a week if we're really lucky. I am so into this. Sakura was surprised at the excitement Naruto had, and even Sasuke was taken aback by Naruto's actions and words as well, and despite his growing dislike for Naruto, the Uchiha couldn't help but smirk slightly at the idea. Besides, if what he heard was true, he would no longer have to go out on missions if all the other hidden villages genin were coming here to Konoha. Plus, Naruto did have a valid point, that many opponents would certainly be a good test of the Sharingan he had with him, and allow it to grow. For once, Dobe, I agree with you. Sakura was surprised at that statement, and so was Naruto as the blonde ninja and dragon champion looked at his dark-haired teammate with surprise. Did Sasuke just agree with me? That's a first. Sakura looked at her two teammates and mentally sighed in relief. At least they were on the same page today, and that was a seriously wonderful blessing in her mind, considering how they act towards one another before. You do? Yes, the exams seem promising from the sound of it. Naruto, Sasuke-kun, I know you guys are eager to go in, but we still need to wait for Kakashi-sensei's decision if he's going to let us take the exams. Sasuke nodded as Sakura did have a point in that regard. Well, either way, I'm ready to give the Chunin exams a shot if we get the go signal. I'll see you guys later. I've got to go home and deal with some matters. As Sasuke left, Naruto then spoke to Konohamaru. Hey Konohamaru, can you do me a favor? Sure thing, boss. Name it, and the Konohamaru Corps will get right on it. I want you to go by the Hokage Tower and ask your grandpa on when the Chunin exams are going to start. I want to know just when it starts so I can have plenty of time. Time for what, boss? Why, to train, of course. No way am I going to join the Chunin exams without an edge. Oh yeah, if you run into my Jonin sensei, get the info on where he'll want to meet with us on the off chance he lets us into the exams. Got it, boss one. Come on guys, let's get going. Naruto smiled at Konohamaru as the kid rushed off to do as he asked of him, with Moegi and Udon coming along as well. He then turned and noted a good deal of worry on Sakura's face. He was surprised and worried about Sakura and walked over to his pink-haired teammate. Sakura-chan, are you all right? I don't know about the exams. I don't think I can keep up with you two. Keep up? What do you mean? Look, Naruto, you've changed not just physically, but your powers have grown, and Sasuke-kun's an Uchiha after all, and sooner or later, he can use the Sharingan. Me? I don't even have a signature jutsu like you two. You have the Kagebushin, and Sasuke-kun has the Uchiha clan jutsu. I don't have one. Both of you have far better chances at passing the Chunin exams than me. Don't say that, Sakura-chan. Huh? Look, I might have the new look, the garb, and the abilities, and well, the sword, but I'm still me, okay? We started as a team, and we have to end as a team. I'm not lying about your sharp mind, you know. You've got more brains than me, and I can bet Sasuke doesn't have the same intelligence as you. You've got an edge. Keep up your spirits, 'cause I like it better when you're fired up and eager, 'cause that's the Sakura I know. Sakura didn't know what to say to that, and she couldn't help but smile a bit and nod a little. But before anything else could be said, a growl in his stomach told Naruto and Sakura that he had apparently skipped breakfast, making Naruto blush and scratch his head as he looked in apology to Sakura. I'm sorry, Sakura-chan, but I haven't eaten a thing since this morning, so I've got to go. Besides, just take a break and relax. We've got plenty of free time, so just relax, okay? Sure. Unknown to Naruto and Sakura, they were being watched by 3 other genin, but they were not of either Konoha or that of the Sand but a totally different village. They were dressed in a different manner of dress. One of them wore a forehead protector in a face guard format and had wild, spiky hair. The others wore the usual headband-style forehead protectors, but were different. The only female of the bunch appeared to have long hair that reached to her ankles, while the other male had his face wrapped in bandages and had only the right side of his face and his right eye exposed. They appeared to have a set of clothes that were in the scheme of camouflage clothing, while the one with the bandaged face had a long-sleeved tunic that covered his arms, and a massive fur-like item on his back. The spiky-haired one looked at the sight and spoke to the one in bandages. So what do you think, Dosu? Nothing special today, Zaku, just weaklings. However, that blonde kid with the sword, the Uchiha kid, and that rat from the village of Hidden Sand, they are a far different breed. We're going to have to keep watch on them. In the Hokage Tower. Alright, then we need to start the selection of viable genin candidates for this year to participate for the Chunin exams. So to start it off, I would like the current genin rookie team leaders of this year's batch to please step forward. Sarutobi looked on as the 3 jonin in question stepped forward. Naturally, this included Hatake Kakashi, Yuhi Kurenai, and Sarutobi Asuma. The 3 jonin were exceptionally gifted ninja, and the elder Hokage knew that to be true for Kakashi. After all, he had become a Chunin at half Naruto's age. Kurenai was the village's top genjutsu specialist and a skilled kunoichi of her own right. And his son Asuma was very talented as well, not only with his trench knives, but his other skills and talents that he honed over the years. Now then, Kakashi, Kurenai, and Asuma, what do you say? Do the 3 of you have any genin in your respective teams who you believe have the potential to be candidates for this year's Chunin exams and wish to recommend, despite their relative inexperience? As you 3 are aware, any genin who has officially taken part in 8 or more missions is already considered technically eligible for entrance to the Chunin exams. Beyond that requirement, only you have the authority to decide if they are ready, though most genin require a longer training period, and twice the number of missions specified. Iruka did not really like the situation that much. There's really no need to talk about this, it's still too early for their teams to be in the Chunin exams to begin with. So, what do you say, Kakashi? You being first. The silver-haired jonin already had an answer to that. He knew that while others might see his move as dangerous, or insane, especially Iruka, he had a feeling that his team, all of them, were going to really shine this year, and he was going to let them take this chance. With that in mind, he gave his answer to Sarutobi. I lead Squad 7, and its members are Sasuke Uchiha, Naruto Uzumaki, and Sakura Haruno. I, Kakashi Hatake, recommend all 3 genin to take part in the Chunin selection exams. Iruka gasped that statement. Yuhi Kurenai also took the same stance as she spoke. And I lead Squad 8, and its members are Hinata Hyuga, Kiba Inuzuka, and Shino Abirame, and I, Kurenai Yuhi, recommend all 3 for the Chunin selection exams. And I lead Squad 9, and its members are Shikamaru Nara, Chuji Akamichi, and Ino Yamanaka, and I, Sarutobi Asuma, recommend all 3 for the Chunin selection exams. The reactions of the Chunin in the room were very much understandable, as they had not expected this action in a very long time. It wasn't often that genin who were merely rookies were all sent to the Chunin exams. Iruka, on the other hand, was the only one who was against the whole thing. Just a darn minute. Lord Hokage, I must protest on this course of action. The 3 jonin faced Iruka, and so did the 3rd Hokage. Sarutobi had a feeling that with the announcements that Kakashi, Kurenai, and Asuma made, that sooner or later someone was going to protest, and it made sense that the one who would was Iruka himself. The scarred Chunin stepped forward as Sarutobi spoke. Yes? What is it, Iruka? With all due respect, Lord Hokage, the names of the 3 genin teams are the names of all my former students from the academy. While I acknowledge that they had potential and promise in their own right, they are not yet fully experienced genin, and sending them to the Chunin exams this early will break them badly if they fail. Kakashi then faced Iruka. When I was at least half Naruto's age, Iruka, I was already a Chunin. Naruto is not the same as you, Kakashi. He is himself, and while he may be no longer under my care, he is still my student. I understand that this is not what you expected, but the 3 of them have wanted a chance to prove themselves, and the Chunin exams are the best choice at this moment. A little pain, though not too much of course, will be a good lesson for them. What? Kurenai was not liking this situation all that much between Iruka and Kakashi, and she made that clear as she stepped into the situation. You've said enough, Kakashi, that's enough for now. Not really, Kurenai, I will say this. Iruka, you should know that the day they left the academy, they were no longer your students, they are mine, namely Naruto. Iruka glared and so did Kakashi, but the Jonin softened a bit and gave a slight smile. Besides, considering certain events in their performance and missions, namely Iron Wave Country, I have no doubts that Naruto is already ready to participate in the Chunin exams, don't you think so? Iruka looked on with stunned eyes as he knew what Kakashi was referring to. However, there was another who spoke to Kakashi, and it was another person who was a Jonin, though he was dressed in a totally different fashion than Kakashi, Kurenai, or Asuma. The Jonin had a bowl haircut, the thickest eyebrows a person would have. He was dressed in a green-skin tight bodysuit and wore large cloth bracer-style leggings on his lower legs. The Jonin looked seriously at Kakashi and spoke. In that regard, Kakashi, I have to side with Iruka. I prevented my own genin team from taking the last Chunin exams so they could further refine their skills, gain experience, and enjoy their youth. What you're doing is a bit unconventional in my eyes at least. Kakashi, however, smiled underneath his mask and replied to the words of his fellow Jonin. I can understand that, guy, but I think my newly formed team has quite a lot of potential this year, and who knows, they might even give your team a run for their money, or take them on and win. The other Jonin gave a look of challenge with a smirk as well at Kakashi. Oh, really now? Asuma then stepped in. That's enough, you two, we need to get them ready instead of going off the gun on this today. That is correct, however, I would like to have a few words with the both of you, Kakashi and Iruka. There are some matters that have to be discussed. The rest of you will have the time to get ready your teams. When you are ready, give them the customary application forms. Later. As Naruto walked back to his apartment to check the number of days left before he would take part in the Chunin exams, he wondered on some things as he hoped he could finally prove himself better than Sasuke and face some really tough competition so he could really grow stronger, not just to become Hokage, but to be ready to face the soon-to-be chosen wielder of the Death Fang. For now he decided to get his wallet and have some cash to buy him some food. Master Naruto? Yeah? I mean, no offense, but I suggest you order more amounts of healthier foods as well for your lunch. You will need proper nutrition and energy to use the powers and essences that you will soon be able to use with the right amounts of time and training. Alright then, by the way, I've been meaning to ask you more questions, are you up for it? Since Lord Faldron's manifestation has filled in the key details, then yes, I am ready to answer whatever questions you might have, Master Naruto. Well, Lord Faldron, he mentioned that I still need to train long and hard in order to use the higher level essences. Just how many essences do you have in you? Quite a lot, actually. There have been many who have ever wielded me in combat. And many of them had exceptional powers and skills. Many were talented sword masters and were quite talented in many levels of weapons mastery, though there were just as many of them were a bit unconventional, to say the least. What do you mean by that? Well, some of the ones who were chosen as dragon champions were spell masters, who used my powers both as a supply and as a booster, while only using me for self-defense. Others were skilled hand-to-hand combatants who used me as a last resort, or as a form of intimidation to avoid combat when they saw it as unwise. Some were powerful healers who used my powers to heal or destroy those who are unnaturally brought back to life. The list would be going on, and on Master Naruto. Suffice to say, I have been in generations worth of battles and served generations of dragon champions in each battle. So I can call on those essences to boost my powers and skills? Correct, Master Naruto. I will be able to then allow the essence you've chosen to flow into your body. Once that is done, that chosen dragon champion essence will then bestow its abilities and skills to you, such as Grandmaster level sword skills, high-level hand-to-hand combat, which in your world would be referred to as taijutsu if I guess right, or high-level spell mastery and the like. However, I can only use one essence at a time, and until you are better trained, it would be best that you choose the essence that suits the battlefield and the foe. And the essences of those you can use at the moment, which are limited right now. Wow, there is one more thing I need to ask you. What would that be, Master Naruto? Lord Faldron mentioned something about me being able to call dragon allies. What are those? Well, many dragons who contributed their powers in my creation, as you might have guessed, also contributed their own blood into my forging. Not only has this given me mystical properties and physical properties, but with the right energy I can actually create a living, breathing dragon to come to the aid of my wielder, such as yourself, Master Naruto, and since I chose you and obey your commands, those dragons will obey only you in effect and will aid you well. However, the only one of my creators I cannot perfectly create or sustain is my father, Lord Faldron. I can do it, but it is the most taxing of the dragon allies I can call upon. Therefore I recommend summoning Lord Faldron's familiar on only the most dire of situations, and I can only summon a handful of dragon allies as well, so I can't raise an entire flight of dragons in a moment. Well, wait a minute? You can summon a living, breathing dragon? You've got to show me how it's done. You wish it now, Master? Of course I do. This is going to be cool. As you wish, but we will need to be at a large clearing for this to work more than once. People have panicked at the sight of a living, breathing dragon coming out of thin air, and I have no doubt things will be even more pronounced out here. Good point. With that, Naruto moved away from his usual direction towards the ramen stand and headed for the practice field. As much as he was in the mood to finally get a bit to eat after all the things that had been happening to him, this new discovery demanded that he look into it as soon as he could. Later, Naruto smiled as he was in the practice field and looked about to make sure that no one else was in the area to just walk in and either mess things up, or when he and Holy Talon summoned a dragon, wouldn't start causing a panic back in the village. As soon as he was sure that no one else was around except him and his sword, he spoke to Holy Talon. We're all clear, so how do you actually go about summoning a dragon? That's the real trick, Master Naruto. I want you to make these symbols with your hands and fingers, and focus on me and I will channel the energy. Once that's done I can take care of the rest, at least at this stage. Naruto followed the advice and began to make movements with his hands and fingers. They then glowed in a gentle green light, and the symbols he made hung in the air and began to move in a unique pattern that resembled a circle that then placed itself on the ground. Once they did, this seemed to create a gentle glow and a humming sound. Now say this phrase: born of earth, born of fire, born of air, born of water, in harmony with the world of the material and the immaterial. Servant of all that is good, and kin of the holy dragons, I call you forth to me in peace or war. Come forth, summoned one. When you do, stab me into the ground, I will do the rest. Naruto nodded and did as Holy Talon instructed him to do, and when he said the phrase and stabbed the Holy Talon into the ground, the sword glowed brightly and the ground in the middle of the circle formed by the symbols began to turn into a glowing white liquid, and from that liquid arose a dragon. The dragon that was summoned was smaller, about the same size as a one-story house, but was long, nearly 16 feet from the tip of the snout and the tail. It was smaller than Faldron, but was no less beautiful, as it had shimmering blue scales that resembled a pure and clear ocean and were smooth and in a flowing pattern. The head was shaped in a very unique fashion, and there were no horns on the head, but long fins on either side of the head, and several whiskers near the nose and upper lips. The wings on the dragon were the same as that of a bird's and had feather-like scales on it, and even feather-like parts on the edges. It had 4 limbs that acted as legs, and it too had claws, though shaped like those of the hawks used by the village as messengers. The tail end was smooth and well-shaped, and the tail tip was covering in what appeared to be frills that were shaped like a bird's rear feathers, and a small row of bone-like knobs lined its back and neck, all the way to the tail. And to the blonde's amazement there appeared to a saddle of some sort on the dragon's back that could hold 3 or 4 people, along with a harness and reins. The dragon turned, and its eyes were in the color of melted copper, and it also spoke to Naruto as he looked on in awe, showing sharp but small yet no less lethal teeth. Greetings, wielder. I am here as you command. Who are you? My draconian name is Long Wielder, but you can call me Kale Skyrunner if you wish, or merely Kale if that suits your tastes more. Kale, well, I wanted to see if I could really summon a dragon, and I guess I can, but why do you have a saddle of some sort on your back? I am what you might call a sky dragon mount, young wielder. It is my duty to carry a dragon champion to a battle when traveling by land is too dangerous and his presence is direly needed, along with 3 companions, or if his foes are in the skies above him or her. Naruto was in awe as he walked towards Kale and placed Holy Talon back into its sheath. His awe got the better of him, and after some difficulty, he sat in the saddle and got used to the feeling of it. He then looked at the dragon, who looked back at him. Can I take you for a ride, Kale? Of course, wielder, though I will only impart one piece of advice for you. And that is? The dragon grinned at that and seemed to crouch down, as if getting ready to leap into the air. Hold on tight. The dragon Kale then leaped upwards, and as if in a split second, the dragon opened its wings and flew into the air at high speed, surprising Naruto greatly as he quickly grabbed onto the reins and the dragon began to move through the sky at amazing speed. Naruto closed his eyes a bit in fear, but as he calmed himself and opened his eyes once more, he found himself in the clouds, looking at the clear blue sky and the sun shining brightly. He saw flocks of birds nearby, and he felt the rush of air all around him. He looked down and saw the village and the lands below as they circled Konoha in the clouds. It was so new and scary, but instead of being afraid, Naruto was not feeling fear but excitement, joy, and elation. This is so cool. I'm actually flying in the sky. I hope you are ready for some quick aerial maneuvers, young wielder, because this is merely the warm-up flight. Naruto was ready this time as the dragon turned to the left and began to move through the clouds and flew at the mountains a great distance from Konoha. As they came to the mountains, the dragon moved through the caverns, canyons and ravines at high speed, moving with seemingly no effort, and even as the caverns, canyons and ravines became smaller, the dragon merely closed its wings, but even with its wings folded closer to it, the dragon moved as if with no effort. Naruto was in awe and joy, until he spotted the end of the canyon, but before he could warn Kale, the dragon merely flew upward with no effort and spread out, and the dragon spun itself in a spiral into the clouds. They entered a cloud bank and Naruto only saw white for a moment, and then the deep blue sky and the warmth of the sun. The dragon then made several zigzag flight patterns, loops, through the clouds, and with climbing runs and dives in between. They then came to the coast in only a few moments, and the dragon flew to the water, and the power of its flight merely feet from the surface created waves, and even dolphins leaped out of the water to follow the dragon as it flew overhead. Kale then flew back to land in a spin and flew to the right, and then repeated the same trip through the mountains, and Naruto couldn't hold on to his elation anymore as the two of them moved about over Konoha. He realized that no ninja from Konoha or anywhere else for that matter was able to ride a living, breathing dragon and to fly in the skies with absolute freedom like he was at this very moment, and to know that was enough to make the blonde ninja shout out in pure victory as they were once more over Konoha. Ya 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 hua. The blonde kid was shouting, whooping, and cheering as the dragon took him all around Konoha in the sky, and they even did corkscrew climbs and dives every chance they got, and the blonde's elation was really getting higher as he shouted out his pleasure at this new dimension of his gifts from the Holy Talon and his status as a dragon champion. Unaware of the fact that his whoops and shouts were already causing quite the commotion in the ground below him as the growing number of genin coming into Konoha, along with the various officials and leaders were all looking for the noises that were seemingly all over the place. In the Hokage's personal chamber. Well, Naruto is certainly getting into the spirit of things. He's actually flying in the sky above us on a real living and breathing dragon. Kakashi said with apparent awe as he, Iruka, and Sarutobi watched from the Hokage's personal viewing sphere. The Jonin and the Chunin were told by Sarutobi what had transpired, then he had spoken with both Faldrin and Naruto when he was alone with them. They were stunned at what they were told, and it was then that Sarutobi was told of strange shouting noises all over the town that they looked in the sphere. Unbelievable, so that's a real dragon? Iruka said with awe at the sight of his student Naruto actually riding one right above his head. The Chunin looked at the dragon as if trying to convince himself what he was seeing was the real thing, and not some elaborate illusion. It seems that Naruto has decided to experiment with the powers of Holy Talon. And from what its chief maker, Faldrin, told me, that is just one of the gifts Naruto has been given with his being the chosen wielder of Holy Talon and the new dragon champion. It seems that Kakashi's arguments have merit considering that Naruto is more than qualified to be in the Chunin exams. Don't you think so, Iruka? Sarutobi said as he looked at the images before him, and he noted that Naruto was already being brought back to the ground by the dragon he was riding. The way Naruto acted showed that he was becoming more skilled with his newfound powers and abilities, telling the third Hokage that Naruto was truly changing. They all watched as Naruto got off the dragon with a warm smile, and the dragon faded back and Naruto went straight to the ramen stand's direction. I guess so, Lord Hokage, so forgive me for acting the way I did before. I know Naruto is strong and full of potential, as are the rest of his classmates from the academy, but still it's not exactly easy on me as I have been their teacher for a long time. Kakashi nodded at that. No one here is disputing that, Iruka, but Naruto is craving a challenge to reach his dreams, and the Chunin exams are the closest chance he has now. If we deny him that, then he would never be able to grow up to be the ninja he wants to be, and if what the Lord Hokage said is true, he will not be ready if the Death Fang does awaken and find its own wielder. The same could be said for all your former students as well. Their time to shine has come, and the Chunin exams will prove to be the best chance they have. Iruka sighed as they watched Naruto get off the dragon and bid it farewell as it faded away, and the blonde went back to the village to his favorite food stand. He's really going to be happy when you tell him this, Kakashi. Don't I know it? In the Ichiraka stand, Ayam was still looking at Naruto wide-eyed as the blonde ninja was gulping down his third helping of ramen. Now seeing Naruto eat ramen like there was no tomorrow was not a new thing, having been doing that for nearly his entire life since she had known him, but now it was different, namely because of the new looks Naruto had. When he arrived, she gave him her usual greeting, but stopped and suddenly blushed bright red and stuttered as she saw Naruto's new looks. Naruto gave her the usual smile he gave, but with his new looks, Ayam felt her body react in a very unique fashion. She had asked him if it was really him, and Naruto replied that it was indeed him. Her father commented on his looks and made both of them blush brightly when he mentioned that Naruto was going to be one hell of a ladies' man, considering how much Ayam was blushing. For that, he was going to half the price of the entire menu for his favorite customer. Naruto was more than happy, and he was eating a lot right now. Naruto-kun has changed, he's so handsome. Ayam then blushed bright red as she began to have impure thoughts concerning her and Naruto, but she couldn't help but smile at them as well. Naruto finished his last bowl and sighed as he was now full, as there were already at least 3 piles of bowls, and smiled warmly at Ayam and Tucci and spoke. Man, that hit the spot. I'll see you all later, old man. See you, Ayam-san. Bye, Naruto-kun. Tucci smiled slyly at Naruto and then to his daughter, who was still blushing bright red as she had her eyes on the blonde ninja. Careful, Ayam. Naruto may be a genin, and an adult in the eyes of the law now, but he is still a kid. They'll give him a few years, and if he gets even better looking, I don't mind at all if you do the mattress dance with him. Just make sure to tell me how he is in bad. Father! Tucci merely laughed while Ayam blushed bright red at the thought of being intimate with Naruto. The next day, Sasuke, Sakura, and Naruto waited for Kakashi once more, and they were not happy with the fact that, as usual, Kakashi was late. Sakura sighed and she couldn't handle it anymore and shouted. What is with Kakashi-sensei? He's always late. Every time he sets the time, he arrives late. I woke up early and had to eat light for this sort of thing. Easy, Sakura-chan, I've had it worse. I had to skip breakfast entirely. Sasuke sighed at his 2 teammates, and then looked upward as Kakashi showed up and greeted them in his usual fashion, which once more included another flimsy excuse for his tardiness. Hi there, you 3, sorry I'm late. I ran into a black cat along the way and had to take the long route. You're late, you liar! Kakashi leaped off the archway and got down to business as Sasuke walked over to the rest of the team. Well, now I've got good news for you 3. I know it's a little sudden and you 3 do need to train more and get more experience, but I have selected you 3 to take part on this year's Chunin exams. Sasuke smiled widely at that, and Naruto's eyes were in saucer-shaped mode as he was in awe. Sakura gulped a bit, but smiled as she recalled that she had her own talents, and kept her cool. These are the application forms that officially place you as Chunin exam entrants. Application forms? Stop repeating my words, Sakura, now listen up. You have to be in room 301 on the 3rd floor in the academy once you sign them, and just so you all know, this is all purely voluntary. If you feel that you're not ready or qualified to take the exams, then you can wait for the next year's Chunin exams. Naruto was happy and made it obvious as he hugged Kakashi. You're the best, Kakashi-sensei. Now this is a real challenge. The Jonin expected that from Naruto, but it was a bit uncomfortable for him. Not to mention the fact that Naruto's enhanced strength, while not that painful, was unexpected to say the least. Stop that, Naruto, or you'll start drooling all over my vest. Oh, sorry. Naruto released his grip on the Jonin and was laughing out loud. Easy there, one more thing. You 3 have 5 days before the start of the exams start, so think long and hard on this choice of joining the Chunin exams. This is a serious matter, and when you step in, you can't back away from it, so choose wisely. Since that's it for today, I'll see you there at the academy. You guys are dismissed. As Naruto walked back to his home, along with Sakura and Sasuke, he was having a fun time thinking things over. This is so cool. I am going to face some really tough guys, and I can't wait. I might even fight Gaara in combat, not to mention Mr. Attitude himself. This is going to be one heck of a few days. Sasuke thought in his own way on the Chunin exams. This will be a good test of the Sharingan, not to mention fighting those ninja, namely that one with the gourd, and I will finally get to see just what else that sword Naruto has to offer. Sakura, however, thought about what she should do. She was worried, but she wanted to prove that she was a good ninja of Konoha. But she had enough time to get ready for the exams and enough time to prepare herself for whatever the exams had in store for her. After all, she had 5 days to prepare. So despite her worries, she was ready to back up both Sasuke and Naruto. As time passed, more and more genin from different villages arrived on the scene, and as the days passed, the genin and their jonin leaders were all given accommodations for their stay in the village of Konoha. Naruto himself was busy studying a number of fighting styles involving swords, taijutsu, spells, and refining his use of Kagebushin, all under the training and advice of Holy Talon, along with using the essences of the dragon champions that he could access at his current skill level and capacity. Sasuke was busy refining his own skills, though he used the Sharingan more often in order to better use its abilities and to further improve it for battle, while Sakura was busy working hard on what she could in order to support her two teammates. In another part of the Konoha training ground. Did you hear? We're going to have first-year genin from the academy this year. All of them are rookies. That hasn't been done in 5 years. A training dummy made of straw was the day's target, as it had a large number of kunai and shuriken embedded in it. A hand wrapped in bandages was near it. No way, I bet it's just a bunch of jonin getting in to boost their egos or get a kick out of it. A female voice said, and the voice belonged to a woman wielding a kunai in one hand and with surprising skill began to flip the weapon and spin it about without being cut at all. No, it's a bit more interesting than that. 3 of those students happen to be from Hatake Kakashi's team, and I happen to know that they happen to be the only team that has ever passed in his bell test. The first voice belonged to a boy who wore the very same garb as the jonin named Guy, so much so that he even had the very same haircut as the jonin and had bandages on his other arm as well, and wore his forehead protector which had the symbol of Konoha but in a belt style, similar to Guy, so much so that he might as be Guy's own son. Really? Are you sure of that, Lee? I'm positive. The girl known as Tenten was ninja as well, dressed in a sleeveless dress and wore deep green pants with sandals. She had her forehead protector with the Konoha symbol in the normal style, and had her hair in a style that meant that most of her no doubt long hair was well placed to stop flowing about, and it seemed that her longer hair was made into 2 buns on the side of her head. I see, that's certainly interesting information. I hardly think it's that interesting, Niji. Tenten wasted no time and threw the kunai in her hand and struck the target, just above the head of the one named Niji, who was dressed in a thick jacket with clasps, and wore his own forehead protector with straps on the sides. He had eyes that seemed to be devoid pupils for some reason and was pure white, yet he seemed to be able to see with as much clarity as the 2 others who were with him. Either way, it's going to be too bad for them. The next day. Where's Sakura? It's not like her to be the late one this time. Naruto asked as he looked about for their pink-haired teammate outside of the academy. He and Sasuke had arrived at least half an hour early to get ready for the exams, but it seemed that they couldn't go in yet until Sakura was with them. I'm not sure where she is, but she'll be here, so don't worry about that. It was then that both genin turned to see their pink-haired teammate as she came running towards them. Naruto smiled and Sasuke sighed a bit and looked on. Sakura stopped and gasped a bit as she tried to catch her breath. As soon as she was able to get her breath back, she gave an apologetic look to both teammates. Hi Naruto-kun. Sasuke-kun. Sorry I'm late, I had to help my mom with some grocery items when she got back from the market. Naruto gave his usual smile and nodded as he spoke. That's okay Sakura-chan, you made it here anyway, so let's go. As the 3 of them made their way to the 3rd floor, they noted something odd. Naruto wondered what that was about, and so did Sasuke and Sakura, and they quickly figured it out that there must be genjutsu in the area. They then spotted a large number of genin who were gathering about in the area before them. What's going on here? Naruto asked as they got closer. Sasuke nodded and spoke. The only way we're going to find out Dobe is to see for ourselves, right? Quit calling me that. Heh. The 3 of them arrived to see a strangely garbed boy with even stranger haircut and bushy eyebrows get knocked back by a pair of Konoha genin, one of whom appeared to be armed with large versions of kunai, the other had his Konoha forehead protector in the way of a bandana of some sort. Naruto quickly noted something odd about that, and whispered to Sasuke and Sakura. There's something odd about those 2, I can't say for sure why I think so, but I do. Sakura looked and nodded at that. She too noted that and quickly analyzed the situation. That must mean that they're the ones who's got the genjutsu set up on this floor, and considering that, they must be chunin in disguise. They're usually the ones who handle a good portion of the chunin exams, from what I've heard. Sasuke nodded and smiled a bit. Good eyes, so I guess it's time we end this test. They must be the ones to determine who's willing to go far enough to be a chunin. Naruto grinned as well. Then it's their lucky day then, cause here comes Kakashi's Team 7. The three stopped whispering as they made their way through the crowd as the two rowdy genin Chunin in disguise made comments to the genin they knocked over and his female companion. The two then faced the trio, with Sasuke in the lead, while Naruto studied the genin on the floor. That guy's got the weirdest fashion sense I've seen, makes me happy I had a wardrobe change. True enough, Master Naruto, but I have a feeling that there's more to this genin. Those bruises he has don't match any type of wounds I know of. So he's faking it? Quite possibly, either he's also a Chunin in disguise, or he's hiding his skills intentionally, and it seems he's quite good at that. Naruto had no time when he heard Sakura gasp and quickly turned to spot the disguised Chunin throw a kick at Sasuke. He reached for Holy Talon and drew the weapon halfway out of the sheath when he sensed movement that somehow got past him, and to his astonishment he spotted the formerly downed genin in the green bodysuit grab both Sasuke and the Chunin's kick with both hands. It seems I was right, Master Naruto. You're right indeed, that guy's fast, I'll give him that. Sakura herself was surprised at how fast the new genin moved, and so was Sasuke as Lee released both their legs. The other genin's apparent teammates were talking to him, and the long-haired one appeared to be talking to him. This allowed Naruto to study them carefully, while Sasuke traded words with the apparent leader of the bunch. That guy has the same eyes as Hinata, that must mean he's a Hyuga clan member. Pardon, Master Naruto, but you know this clan? Not personally. I know that I have a classmate from my academy days whose name is Hinata, and her clan is supposed to be one of the more powerful clans here in Konoha. Something to do with a powerful gift called, what was that again? Yeah, now I remember, they call it the Byakugan. It's supposed to allow others to see chakra, and it serves as a basis of their fighting style. Though I've never met this guy before, he seems kind of driven for some reason, like he's got this entire mission and burden on his hands or something. That gift is similar to the Dragon's Eye then. Dragon's Eye? What's that? It's a natural gift that allows certain dragons a limited ability to see the past, present, and the possible future. I know my chief creator and father Lord Faldron possessed a very powerful dragon's eye, and it helped him call the ceasefire and naturally led to my creation. And I know that certain members of the Chaos Dragons have the same gift, and Chorvax was the most adept to use it, which led to the creation of Death Fong. Wow, I didn't know that. Do you have something like it? Not in the pure form. I can only make a powered-down version of it that I passed down to you when you first took hold of me back in the water. Wow, you mean I can see the future? No, I'm afraid not, Master. Such a thing is forbidden for mortals, even dragon champions. The future, in my Lord Faldron's words, is something one must make for himself or herself. It means that all beings have the ability to make their own future. As the dragon eye only sees a possible future, one that can change in a heartbeat under different circumstances and events. Personally, I find that to be a great boon and lesson. Fate's something that beings such as yourself must make with their own hands, Master Naruto, just as my master and his kin allowed the mortal races in their realms make their own decisions. You're right there. I'm happy you chose me to be your wielder. All the advice you give me certainly helps loads. You are welcome, Master Naruto. So how does this version you have of the Dragon Eye work? It allows you a limited ability to sense attacks and how to best counter them. As I said, it's not perfect, and has its flaws, but in the right moment, it will be the difference between life and death in a fight. Good ability it is then. Very much. It seems you're being studied, Master. It was during Naruto's mental conversation with Holy Talon that Tenten noted his presence. She had thought Sasuke was cute, but the moment she gazed at Naruto, her thoughts of Sasuke being cute were put aside as she gazed at Naruto's features. She was amazed that he looked so mature and handsome despite being a genin, and he was certainly well built for his age. Not to mention she had enough time to note that Naruto was looking back at her, and he smiled in greeting, making the brunette Kunoichi blush bright red. Wow, the blonde's hot. That pink-haired girl has no idea how lucky she is to have two hot guys in her team. Maybe I could ask her if she knows where they live, namely the blonde one. I wonder if he stopped that Tenten, lest you start thinking the wrong things. Naruto himself was getting ideas, as he had to admit that despite some initial discomfort with all the staring, he was getting used to it, and found it nice. I guess I can get used to this. I see you're enjoying all the attention, Master Naruto, from your physical changes. Good for you. Though I would caution you about entertaining thoughts about such meetings at this point in time. You are participating in the Chunin exams after all. Good point. Naruto then spotted Sakura berating the green spandex jumpsuit wearing guy and felt sorry for him. He had been under the brunt of Sakura's temperament more than once and personally knew the feeling, though she seemed nicer now than before. Naruto-kun, Sasuke-kun, we should head out and find the real room. We've wasted enough time here. With that, the pink-haired teen grabbed both their arms and began to pull them away, much to their surprise. Niji glared at the Uchiha clan survivor as he didn't like his attitude, and Lee took notice of that too. However, he was also curious about the blonde ninja who was part of the team the pink-haired angel was part of. Despite his silence, the genin felt that the blonde was deep in thought. He decided to see for himself the extent of the power of the Uchiha clan survivor in a match. Well, now so those two group of misfits are the ones Kakashi and Guy have been talking about. I believe so. Congratulations are in order then for their passing of their application forms. The two Chunin then transformed to their normal forms and one of them smiled. This year's Chunin exams is proving to be a lot of fun. For us maybe, but I doubt the genin we're about to test would see it that way. Unknown to them all. It's here I can feel the power that I heard so much about. It shall be mine along with the Sharingan. 100 skilled warriors bought and paid for is worth the effort, and is called a small force. However, a handful of friends whose loyalty is to you and each other no matter what dangers you face, then that is no small force, that is an army. Friendships built on trust and loyalty is far stronger than any weapon or force. The words of an infantry officer in the 13th Dragon Champion Wars. In the academy, Niji looked at the trio as they left the scene with Sakura dragging her teammates along by the hands. He, Tenten, and Rock Lee looked on, and it seemed that things were going to get interesting indeed this year. Niji knew about the Uchiha massacre, and he had to admit that Sasuke was certainly living up to the image of an Uchiha. So that's Sasuke of the Uchiha clan. The black-haired one's pretty bold. Niji, you going to challenge him? Tenten spoke as she looked at her teammate. Niji gave a slight snort and walked away, making Tenten smirk a bit as they headed off to get their team registered. But as they were making their way towards, she noted that their comrade Rock Lee was not following them, but seemed to be deep in thought. Lee? What are you waiting for? We're supposed to be checking in right now. Lee turned and replied to Tenten as Niji stopped and waited for them. I'll catch up with the both of you later. You don't need to wait for me right now. There's just something that I have to check out for myself. Tenten watched as Lee left them, and she wondered just what her teammate was up to this time. With that in mind, she turned to Niji and asked him, What do you suppose Lee's up to this time, Niji? I wouldn't know actually, but we should get going. He'll catch up with us soon enough. Niji replied as he kept on walking to where the real third floor was. As the three genin of Kakashi's Team 7 moved into a large hall, Lee was able to catch up with them and called out to the one he wanted to test the theory on, and knew that now was the time to see how the Uchiha's favored bloodline trait would stand to his brand of fighting, not to mention he wanted to try and get to know Sakura better. Hey! You with the attitude, hold on! Naruto, Sakura, and Sasuke looked back to the higher floor to spot Rock Lee looking at them. Naruto recognized him quickly, while Sakura was not exactly pleased with Rock Lee's arrival, recalling his actions towards her, while being flirty did kind of creep her out a bit, and Sasuke gave an indifferent look to the genin who called them, but he was indeed curious as he recalled how Lee had stopped his kick with only one hand. What do you want? I want to challenge you to the fight, right here, and right now. Sasuke's eyes narrowed a bit at that, and he replied. You want to fight me here and now? Yes. With that, Lee leaped over the edge and landed safely on the floor from where he had been. As he got his footing, the green suit-wearing genin then got to his feet and pointed his finger at himself, and gave his name. My name is Rock Lee of Team 10. He then pointed his finger right at Sasuke and spoke. You yourself said that it is considered a common courtesy for a challenger to give his name first, am I correct, Sasuke Uchiha? Sasuke was a bit surprised. Here was a guy he knew next to nothing about, but this one named Rock Lee knew him already. So you know me already? Lee then got into a fighting stance that seemed to be quite unique, that Naruto looked at carefully, and so did Holy Talon. The Holy Dragon Sword had known many hand-to-hand combat specialists in its existence back in the world of its birth, and knew a fighter's stance when it sensed it. This one genin seemed serious in his intentions for a fight with Sasuke Master Naruto. Yeah, looks like it. This guy's certainly got the spirit. Wonder if he has the moves? Guess we're going to find out now, Master Naruto. I challenge you, Sasuke Uchiha. Everyone I know speaks highly of the Uchiha clan and how great they are with the Sharingan. Well, I for one wish to test those myths personally, and since you are who you are, then you would be a good test for me. Naruto didn't know why, but he suddenly began to feel like he could respect Rock Lee. Something about this guy's words and the message he conveyed touched him. Long before he acquired Holy Talon, he had struggled to make a name for himself, and he did it through pranks and many other ways. But it was hard as so many people disliked him, with the exception of Irika-sensei, who was like a brother figure to him, and the third Hokage who was the closest thing to a grandfather to him. And of course he now had Sakura, Kakashi, and even though he wouldn't admit it, Sasuke. Sakura was naturally his crush, despite him knowing that she was head over heels in love with Sasuke. However, she seemed nicer now and he decided to pay her back too by being nice to her in return. Kakashi was someone he liked playing jokes on, but he did respect the Jonin, and he did give out serious advice, not to mention that ever since he acquired Holy Talon, Kakashi had been supportive of his time. Sasuke, well, he was a bit complicated. He hated the Uchiha's arrogance and stuck-up nature, not to mention the way he acts around people, always saying I'm better than any of you. That nature of Sasuke really grated on his nerves. However, Naruto was not always disliking Sasuke. He had to admit that Sasuke had the skills to back it up, not to mention the bloodline, and he had to admit that Sasuke had lost his entire family to his own brother, and he could only imagine the horror that Sasuke had been through that night to know that one of his own kin did the massacre. Still, that was no excuse to be the way he is now. However, Sasuke was and still is the reason he pushed himself to excel, and for that, he had to actually thank the Uchiha survivor for being his teammate and rival. And also, Lee then directed his attention to Sakura, who gave a very uneasy look when she found out that she was now the center of Lee's attention. This also got Naruto's attention as he had been busy with a discussion with Holy Talon to see what had transpired between Rock Lee and Sakura. He couldn't help but feel the urge to laugh as he suddenly saw the guy blush at Sakura's direction. Sakura, I love you. Awawaf. No. Naruto was looking at that and tried not to laugh so as to avoid getting Sakura's ire and anger. Despite his dislike for Lee's antics, for some reason, he could tell that Lee was a good guy, and was being nice, though he had an odd way of doing it. You have the weirdest fashion sense I have ever seen, that's the ugliest haircut I've ever seen in my life, and your eyebrows are so bushy you're totally weird. Instead of being insulted by Sakura's comments like before, Lee was unfazed and the next words that came out of his mouth nearly made Naruto burst out laughing. He had no idea why he was finding humor in this situation at first, until he realized that Sakura now had a fanboy of her own and was now probably getting a dose of what Sasuke must go through every time. It was a bit bad to laugh about his teammate's obvious discomfort with the whole situation, but he couldn't help himself at that as he managed to contain his laughter. You are an angel sent from heaven. And then Lee sent a flying heart to Sakura, who set about trying to avoid it as it hit the pillars behind her with a very weird sound. Good move there, Sakura. I should have expected that from the most attractive kunoichi here, but I am not giving up just yet. Let's see you dodge these. Sakura was crying out in panic as she saw Lee unleash hordes of hearts right at her direction. She quickly began to dodge and move away as each heart came at her in different areas, and as she did so, they also made very weird noises. The last one made Sakura bend backwards until she hit her head. That was too close. As soon as she was back on her feet, Sakura glared at Lee and made her displeasure known to him. Hey you! Keep those weird Valentine hearts of yours to yourself right now. You had me dodging for my life there. You don't have to be so negative about that, Sakura. I was being nice. Naruto shook his head at this and tried desperately not to laugh. He had to admit, this Lee was something else entirely. He knew that most people labeled him weird apart from the usual band of insults, but Lee beat everything he's ever done, and he could almost swear that Holy Talon was laughing as well, and since the sword chose him, only he could hear the living weapon's laughter. I have to give him credit, Master Naruto, he's not shy about saying what he likes. Yeah, I totally agree. Now then, I wonder if old Sasuke is going to go through with this. This could be good. You don't want to fight Lee yourself? Not really, I don't know his style of combat. What else can you sense about Lee? Apart from the obvious? Well, it seems that he has no serious chakra control to begin with, or has very low reserves of chakra, but his physical condition is at a very high level, just the kind you would expect from a fighter who uses hand-to-hand combat. Wait, Lee has no control chakra? That would mean that he can't use genjutsu or ninjutsu, so that would leave taijutsu. Then this is going to be good. I can't wait to see just how good this guy really is. Besides, he is challenging Sasuke, so why should I interfere? It is a formal challenge after all. Point taken. You know about the Uchiha clan, yet you still want to challenge me? You must be even more psycho than you look, if that's even possible. You want to know more about my clan? Then I'll be happy to teach you the hard way. Sasuke said with a dark look on his face as Lee merely extended his right hand and replied with a confident look. Bring it on. Excellent, I finally get to fight the #1 rookie of this year. I will make him draw out his techniques and see just how good he really is. I will make you proud of me, Guy-sensei. Hold it, you two. The group turned to Naruto, who looked at the two of them with a serious expression, totally unlike the normally goofy-looking and jovial blonde ninja as before. While I'm actually looking forward to this kind of a fight, you all realize that we do have limited time before the exams start, so try not to make this an epic battle, just a good one from start to finish so we can get the exams underway. Then he grinned once more. But just because it's going to be a quick bout, try not to make it boring, and Sasuke, you had better be careful. This guy might not look like it, but he's a lot more skilled than he looks. You might be in for one hell of a ride. Quiet, Naruto, I can handle this weirdo. Naruto shrugged. Alright then, go ahead and knock yourself out. But don't say I didn't warn you. Lee here might not look like it, but he's got some serious skills as far as I can see. Lee nodded in agreement with Naruto and smiled a bit at the blonde ninja with the sword on his back. He had thought that Naruto was not into being social since he seemed so silent, but it seems that the blonde was actually observing him. He knows more than he lets on. I'll need to talk to him later and see just who he is. Your blonde comrade is correct, Sasuke. Out of all the top genin that graduated from the academy last year, I am one of the best in my chosen way of combat. Fight me and I shall prove my point. Sasuke thought about it, and he had to admit that he did agree with Naruto's words to an extent as he recalled how Lee was able to stop his kick with just one hand. He smiled a bit and replied to Lee's words, and he was going to see if this weirdly dressed up genin was all he said himself to be, or all talk and no guts. This'll be fun then. Alright, I accept your challenge and I'm going to make you regret ever issuing it to me of all people. Sakura then directed her attention to the clock and gasped as she saw the time that they had on their hands, and that was not enough. Sasuke-kun, we have no time for this between you two. We have to register before 3 o'clock or we'll never be allowed into the Chunin exams. Relax, Sakura, this'll all be over in 5 seconds. With that, Sasuke rushed at Lee, intent on finishing this fight with one blow and show why he was the #1 rookie of the year, and just what he was made of. Lee, however, kept his cool and focused on the fight in front of him. Good, he made the first move. Forgive me, Guy-sensei. I know that you forbade me using that jutsu, but it seems I will need to use it in this fight with Sasuke. Sasuke launched his attack, but to his shock, Lee faded from the area his punch was in. He stumbled and recovered, but as he turned, he spotted Lee in the air as he shouted his attack. Leaf Hurricane. Sasuke dodged the attack, but as Lee landed, he was already on the offensive as he landed on his hands and left knee with right leg upward and then lashed out with his right with a strike to the head. Sasuke went on the defensive as he realized that he was at a disadvantage as he was open and had to block Lee's attacks. I'm not moving fast enough. I have to block. Lee, however, knew that in advance and placed a hand sign. This caught Sasuke off guard as he tried to determine if, like Haku, Lee could make hand seals with only one hand. However, as Holy Talon had sensed, Lee was not a user of genjutsu or ninjutsu and was using the hand sign as a decoy, and Sasuke paid for it as he let his guard down, allowing Lee to hit him hard and send him flying. Sasuke! Sakura shouted as she saw Sasuke being hit by Lee and hitting the ground and skidding until he stopped, while Naruto looked on with some difficulty as he wanted to fight, but he kept his peace as he observed the fight with his hands in his pockets. Lee's got the moves all right. He used that hand sign to make Sasuke lose focus. Sasuke felt the pain of the blow and was stunned. I had my guard up, but he went through it. What's going on? Sakura was also stunned by the sight of Sasuke being hit like that and sent flying. Sasuke-kun had his guard up, but Lee went right through it. Maybe Naruto-kun's right, maybe Lee's more than mere looks. Sasuke got himself to his hands and got up slowly as he tried to think how Lee got past his defenses. He's using some sort of technique to get me. What is it? Is it a genjutsu or a ninjutsu? Lee kept his calm as he held his usual position on the floor, left hand behind him and right hand forward as he waited for Sasuke to make the next move. As I thought, he's coming back for another go at me. Well then, if he's using a genjutsu or a ninjutsu, then I guess it's time I get to use my ace in the hole. Besides, he's exactly at the spot where I want him to be. Sasuke got up and was now ready to give another go at fighting Lee. But this time, he was going to go up a notch and give Lee a taste of what made his clan famous in the village of Konoha. I'd been waiting a while to put this to good use. Sakura looked on and was surprised as she realized what was happening. Could it be? She got her answer as Sasuke revealed his eyes, and they were no longer in the usual shade of dark black, but were red, just like Kakashi's left eye, and Sakura knew quickly what that meant. The Sharingan. When did Sasuke-kun learn how to use it? Lee noted that as well and looked on patiently. So, he now reveals the Sharingan. This will be an interesting match. Be it genjutsu or ninjutsu, with these eyes I will see right through it. Sasuke locked his eyes right at Lee and then charged as Sakura was in awe as she thought that Sasuke had lived up to his blood as an Uchiha, and no one could predict what he'll do next. With the Sharingan, he would be able to read this guy's jutsus and get him good. There was no way Lee could beat Sasuke now. Naruto, however, had his doubts as he kept on watching, and sure enough he was proven correct as Lee once more kicked Sasuke aside like he was nothing more than a rookie fighter taking on a more seasoned and highly skilled opponent. Naturally, the Sharingan user was stunned by this turn of events in a very serious way. He still got past my guard, but how? What sort of jutsu is this guy using that I can't seem to see? Sakura was in shock at the sight as she expected Sasuke to win easily with the Sharingan in hand, but Lee proved her otherwise. The genin then spoke to Sasuke as he watched Sasuke fall from his kick. If you believe that my techniques have anything to do with either genjutsu or ninjutsu, then you are sadly mistaken, Sasuke Uchiha. And for the first time in this battle, Lee was the one on the offensive as he charged right at Sasuke. As soon as Sasuke landed and got to his feet, Naruto watched the whole thing and shook his head as the real fight had just begun as Lee attacked with flurries of kicks and punches at Sasuke. The Uchiha managed to evade a few of the attacks, but the rest hit him hard, as Lee blocked his attacks and fought back as well. He then slammed an elbow strike right into Sasuke's stomach and forced him back in pain and surprise. As Sasuke held his stomach, Lee then spoke to him. Do you understand now my words before and why your blonde companion was correct in saying that I am not an easy foe? My fighting style makes no use of genjutsu or ninjutsu but taijutsu. That means there are no tricks or illusions, Sasuke. Lee vanished once more to Sasuke's shock and was now right behind him. It's just simple and straightforward martial arts, nothing more. Sasuke gritted his teeth and lashed out at Lee, but the genin avoided his strike and once more was in his neutral position. I know your technique, and I say that you should forget it, because it will not work. Not on me. I know about the Sharingan. It gives you the ability to see past the foe's jutsu so you can see their hand signs and their movements and decipher them instantly, allowing you read them and predict their movements and intentions before they know it themselves. And I know that with them you can read your opponent's chakra to further your abilities. However, taijutsu is not the same as genjutsu or ninjutsu. What's your point? The point is simple, Sasuke. I don't hide or disguise my moves. I don't have to in any case, and even if you can see them, you can never block them or stop them. You are too slow. While your eyes may allow you to be one step ahead of me, your body does not have the weight to keep up at all, and that is very much true. So how then will you be able to stop me? And you know what the answer is to that? You cannot stop them. Because in the end, your Sharingan is worthless in a fight with me. That hit a nerve as Sasuke growled in anger, and Sakura was getting worried. Naruto, however, was very impressed, and so was Holy Talon. As far as the blonde ninja could see, Lee was the only one person who could face the Sharingan and defeat its advantages in a fight. This guy was definitely living up to his claims to be one of the top genin in Konoha. Lee is correct. As long as Sasuke does not have the physical speed to match Lee's own speed in combat, there's no way he could beat him in a straight-on fight. You're right, he's certainly someone to be wary of. Shame Mr. Attitude's finding that fact out too little too late. You know something, Sasuke? This is what I believe. There are two kinds of ninja in this world, those such as yourself who are born with talent and don't have to work hard on it. Sasuke had enough and attacked, but he had lost his composure and was no longer focused and calm. But Lee was different as he held his ground. And those like myself, the ones who train ourselves with all that we are every second of our lives. Lee evaded several more attacks from Sasuke, and then he commented that Sasuke's Sharingan was the worst match with his brand of extreme taijutsu, and he was about to show the reason for his statement, and he launched out an attack that Sasuke once more failed to block as he was sent into the air once more, but this time Lee was not waiting for Sasuke to hit the ground as he followed him. Naruto's eyes narrowed at this and knew that things were going to be serious from here on in. Lee wasn't playing anymore, he was serious. Sasuke looked to see Lee behind him in midair and knew what this move was. Dancing Leaf Shadow. Good eye, but here is where I prove my point to you. Lee moved his arms and Naruto spotted the bandage tape on Lee's arm begin to loosen and saw that Lee was unleashing a jutsu that must be part of taijutsu style moves. And that point is that hard work beats natural talent. Sasuke knew that this move was a serious one, but he had no idea what to do right now at this point in time as he realized with reluctance that Naruto was right for him to be wary of Lee, and that Lee was right that even with the Sharingan active, he was not able to equalize Lee's speed. What the heck is his next move? You're finished.